Hi, welcome to my channel. The full version of the audiobook is available on my Patreon. You can quickly find it through the link in my profile description. Thank you for your support.
Chapter 1 Prologue, The Death of a Genius. Finally, there was news about Gao Zheng again. He's still playing football, but not professionally, he's playing amateur football. Yesterday, a netizen posted a photo on Weibo. In the photo, Gao Zheng is wearing a jersey with a company name printed on the back. The jersey doesn't fit quite right, it's a little too big. It's a group photo, and standing next to Gao Zheng is a middle-aged man who looks overweight. He probably is the leader of the sponsoring company. Gao Zheng flashed a peace sign and a bright smile in front of the camera. But for some reason, when I saw this photo, I felt a sense of sadness. A rising star who had been touted by Chinese media for years and given hope by countless Chinese fans as someone who could change the future of Chinese football, standing on this simple artificial turf field in such a posture was the greatest waste of his talent and even a crime. So naturally, the comments section of this Weibo post was filled with angry remarks from fans disappointed with the current state of Chinese football. Some of the insults were relatively polite, while others were downright offensive and unbearable. I can understand how these people feel. After all, Gao Zheng was once a genius they had high hopes for. I also remember the media frenzy when Gao Zheng joined AC Milan's youth academy. It was the first time I'd ever seen our media create so many different ways to praise someone. Like other fans at the time, I was excited and thrilled, believing that there was hope for the future of Chinese football. We looked forward to seeing Gao Zheng wearing an AC Milan jersey on the San Siro pitch. Even though I wasn't an AC Milan fan, if that day ever came, I would be willing to fall in love with AC Milan for Gao Zheng. To be honest, Gao Zheng's initial performance in AC Milan's youth academy was quite good, and he lived up to the hype from domestic media and the expectations of us fans. The assessment that he could change the future of Chinese football wasn't just something Chinese media made up, it was a genuine evaluation from Italian media. At the time, he had just won the U16 League Championship with AC Milan's U16 team, and he was selected as the tournament's best player. He plays with flair and imagination. Although he is tall, he has delicate footwork that is disproportionate to his height. I haven't watched many of his matches, since it's not easy to find videos of Italian U16 matches. But from the few highlights I have, Gao Zheng does have a ball sense far beyond his peers. Watching him play is a real treat. His performance lives up to the praise from the Italian media. Because of his outstanding performance in the U16 team, Gao Zheng was promoted to the U18 team the following year at the age of 16, becoming a student who skipped a grade. At the time, domestic media reported on this event with great excitement, and many fans cheered for Gao Zheng. But now it seems that this kind of skipping grades may not be a good thing, but rather more like forcing growth. Although 16-year-old Gao Zheng has a tall stature, his muscle strength is not fully developed. In addition, his outstanding performance in the first season in the U16 team made his opponents pay more attention to him. He did not gain any advantage in the physical battles with opponents who were 1 or 2 years older than him. And the most worrying thing still happened. In February 2008, during a youth team match, Gao Zheng suffered a serious foul, and his left ankle was deformed by an opponent's tackle. He underwent surgery and then spent 13 months recovering. Before his injury, he was the starting center forward for AC Milan's U18 team. When he returned from injury in April 2009, there was no place for him in the team. In the 2009-2010 season, Gao Zheng, who had already turned 18, should have been promoted to the U19 team. This time it was not considered a skipping grade, but he still stayed in the U18 team. In this team that was promoted from the U17 team, 18-year-old Gao Zheng was considered an older player. Even in this team, he still struggled to secure a starting position, and it was difficult for him to even make the 18-man roster. Even when he did make the roster, he didn't get a chance to play. Moreover, he was still injured. During the first half of the 2009-2010 season, he missed a total of 2 months of matches and training due to injury. Gao Zheng's football career took a hairpin turn. At the end of 2009, he had 6 months left on his contract with the club. Based on his performance before his injury, he should have already signed a professional contract with AC Milan. However, what I heard was that AC Milan terminated Gao Zheng's contract 6 months early, supposedly due to his frequent injuries. This is the last time I've heard anything about Gao Zheng. He left AC Milan, and nobody knows where he went. Even the all-powerful media can't find him. It's as if he's vanished into thin air. A once promising genius has vanished without a trace. Even today, photos of him on the basketball court have been posted online. So he's still alive. Judging from his smile, he seems to be doing quite well. That's right. You can stop playing football, but life goes on. Even if you can't be the rising star who changes the future of Chinese football, or the first player to establish himself in a top club, it's not the end of the world. You can live your life in a different way, with a different identity, and live it well. That's a kind of happiness too. Why care what others say? But for me, that genius who once brought me joy and hope is dead. From a netizen's article, The Death of a Genius. Chapter 2. Gao Zheng. 11-year-old Lin Yuan, dressed in a full tracksuit, walked along while juggling a soccer ball between his feet. His small, spiked soccer shoes, designed for hard surfaces like artificial turf, made a crisp, pleasant sound with each contact with the sidewalk. Every passerby who saw Lin Yuan juggling the ball as he walked would cast a glance of attention, and some even exclaimed, "Wow! This kid is amazing." Hearing such praise, Lin Yuan bounced even more energetically. He particularly enjoyed this attention, because it made him feel like a star athlete. The soccer ball danced between his feet, occasionally bouncing it slightly with his thigh to adjust his balance. He had already bounced it many times without it touching the ground. He hadn't counted, afraid that counting would distract him from juggling. He dared not multitask, he had to concentrate fully. That's why, even when he heard the praise, he didn't dare look up to see who was praising him. Just then, a cry of alarm rang out behind him, "Watch out!" Lin Yuan's foot slipped, and the soccer ball slid along his shoe into the green belt on the side. "Sister!" Lin Yuan was very angry. "That was so dangerous. You almost crashed into a tree. I told you not to play with a ball while walking." A long-haired girl with exquisite makeup walked up behind Lin Yuan, carrying a small sports bag in her hand, with a reproachful look on her face. "I'm practicing my ball control." Lin Yuan protested as he ran to retrieve the soccer ball. "What ball control? Who practices ball control on the street?" The older sister gently patted her younger brother's head, his stiff buzz cut brushing against her palm, making her want to rub his head a little more. But the younger brother clearly didn't like his sister's affectionate gesture and turned his head away. "Sister, you don't understand football, why are you following me to join in the fun? How could I let you come to practice alone? There are so many cars on the road, it's too dangerous," the girl said with a smile. "Besides, I'll even carry your bag for you, I'm practically your beautiful assistant. With this treatment, what more could you want?" She waved the sports bag in her hand. "Why didn't you spend time with me before? It only started last month. My older sister was busy before. She was busy looking for a job after graduating from university. How can a child imagine how busy adults are?" Lin Yuan rolled his eyes from an angle where his sister couldn't see him. "Then why do you wear makeup when you go out? Idiot, would you want your teammates to call your sister ugly? Of course you have to dress up nicely to make you look good. Aren't I doing this for your own good?" Hearing his sister's words, Lin Yuan forced a smile and said, "Thank you so much, sister." Seeing the smile on her brother's face, which looked more like a grimace, the girl smiled back and said, "You're welcome. After all, you're my brother." Her smile was brighter than the afternoon sun. When they arrived at the entrance of the football training center, Lin Yuan's sister's eyes lit up. There stood a tall young man, chatting with two middle-aged men, seemingly seeing them off. Sunlight slanted across the boy's face as he smiled and shook his head, making the sunlight seem to dance on his skin, dazzling the girl. She inwardly screamed, "How can he be so handsome? How can he be so dashing?" Lin Yuan suddenly noticed his sister shoving the bag she was holding into his arms. "Hurry up and go to the court, your teammates are waiting for you." The younger brother, holding his sports bag, noticed that his older sister's gaze was fixed on that tall figure, unable to look away, and he snorted. But his sister clearly didn't hear his snort expressing his dissatisfaction. Instead, she pushed him away again and waved her hand as if to drive him away. After Gao Zheng saw off the two visitors, he turned around and saw a girl standing in front of him with a smile. He was startled, literally startled, and jumped back a step. "Wow. Pfft." The girl was amused by his exaggerated dodging movements. Sister Lin Yuan, I've discovered that you really have the talent to be an excellent man-marking guard. Huh? Why? The girl asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Your ability to appear silently behind someone is something many defenders dream of. If I had the ball on the field just now, you would have definitely stolen it from me, Gao Zheng said, snapping his fingers. The girl said coquettishly, you're so annoying. Besides, how many times have I told you not to call me Sister Lin Yuan, call me Cici, Zheng. Gao Zheng nodded and said, okay, Lin Cici. Lin Cici pouted, you. Then she changed the subject, who were those two people just now? From Deshang Club. What's that? Lin Cici asked, looking confused. Gao Zheng then realized that the girl in front of him was completely ignorant about football. She works for a professional football club. Unexpectedly, Lin Cici suddenly cheered, wow. You're invited to play football, right? You're going to be a professional player. That's awesome. I knew you wouldn't. Gao Zheng interrupted her rambling, they hired me to be their translator. Give up your reasoning, eh? Translation. Lin Cici was stunned. They are planning to bring in an Italian player and intend to ask me to be their translator. You agreed? Lin Cici asked. Gao Zheng smiled and shook his head, of course not. Lin Cici let out a long sigh, exactly, how could you become a translator? It's such a waste of your talent. To the girl who stood up for him, Gao Zheng waved his hand and said, what do you mean by wasting talent? The pay is too low, I wouldn't bother going. Wow, Lin Yuan, your sister's swooning over a guy again. On the distant football field, Lin Yuan's teammates, wearing the same jersey as him, were joking with him. Lin Yuan glared angrily at the tall figure where his sister was. If his gaze were a sword, he would have already cleaved that figure in two. The teammates seemed to really enjoy gossiping about Lin Yuan's sister. Coach Gao is so handsome, isn't it normal for beautiful women to like him? Exactly. If I had an older sister like that, I'd help her get close to Coach Gao, so I could have someone teach me how to play soccer every day. Wouldn't that save money too? That's a great idea. Hey, Lin Yuan, why don't you help your sister out? Lin Yuan snorted, what kind of terrible idea is this? I don't think Coach Gao is that great. All he does is lead us around running laps and warming up. I don't care about that. Suddenly, a teammate lowered his voice and said, hey, I heard that our Coach Gao is actually really amazing. Children are the most curious group of people. When someone talks about gossip in a mysterious tone, it immediately attracts everyone's attention. What's so amazing about it? Actually, our Coach Gao is a football genius. This informant was quite the drama queen, exaggerating his words. I heard he went to play for AC Milan when he was very young, and he was incredibly good. Why else would he go to AC Milan? That's AC Milan. Wow. Really? Coach Gao is that good? The group of friends exclaimed in surprise. Lin Yuan felt very uncomfortable after hearing this and retorted, it sounds fake. The whistleblower felt targeted by this remark and retorted unhappily, what's fake about it? If he were truly capable of playing for AC Milan, if he were truly a genius, why would he be working for Coach Yang here now? Lin Yuan said, pointing to Gao Zheng in the distance. This. The whistleblower was stunned, he hadn't thought of that either. Seeing that the other party was speechless, Lin Yuan pressed his advantage, he should be playing for AC Milan right now. So you must have misheard. How could that be? I heard Coach Gao say that to Coach Yang with my own ears. Lin Yuan scoffed, so Coach Gao just lied to Coach Yang. He just made up some nonsense. Coach Yang wouldn't go to Italy to ask AC Milan about it. The more he talked, the more convinced he became of his guess. He was excited to have exposed a fraud, and he started gesturing wildly. Did any of you see Coach Gao actually display any genius football skills? Is it genius just to run laps with us, do some warm-up exercises, and help set up cones? Then someone like me could play for Barcelona or Real Madrid, right? Lin Yuan chuckled as he said this, amused by the joke himself. After laughing, he continued, if you ask me, it's because our Coach Yang is too kind-hearted that he was easily fooled. Someone who can play for AC Milan would come to our little town, oh dear. Before Lin Yuan could finish speaking, he clutched his head and cried out. He saw Coach Yang, whose face was covered in wrinkles, standing in front of him with a dark expression. Lin Yuan covered his head and said aggrievedly, "Coach Yang, why did you hit me? You little brat, what do you know?" From Coach Yang's tone, it was clear that he wasn't in a good mood either, so all the young players stood there without daring to breathe, and Lin Yuan didn't say a word either. Everyone knows Coach Yang has a fiery temper. Seeing that the young players had quieted down, Yang Wenlong turned his gaze to Gao Zheng in the distance. He saw that Gao Zheng was still chatting with Lin Yuan's sister. The two seemed to be having a pleasant conversation, and they were talking about something that made the girl laugh heartily. The clear laughter even drifted over to this side of the field. A group of children were curious but dared not look, and could only sneak glances in that direction. Their necks looked like they were rusty. Upon witnessing this scene, Yang Wenlong felt the veins on his forehead throbbing uncontrollably. "Gao Zheng," he roared. "Get the hell over here and get to work." Looking at the handsome boy with good-looking wheat-colored skin in front of her, Lin Cici's heart was beating much faster than usual. In her eyes, this boy was absolutely perfect, tall and handsome, with teeth as white as jade when he smiled, eyes that sparkled like stars in the sky, and even his casually combed hair looked good, exuding a wild and untamed charm. What looked like loose, baggy sportswear on others appeared effortlessly sexy on him. Who says sportswear is ugly? It's the people wearing sportswear who are ugly. Lin Cici became more and more engrossed in watching, and just as she was about to muster up the courage to ask Gao Zheng out on a date, a loud shout suddenly came from the basketball court, "Gao Zheng! Get the hell over here and get to work." She had just opened her mouth when Gao Zheng turned around and replied, "Coming." He then waved to her, turned around, and wobbled over. Lin Cici felt a little regretful and annoyed. How could she have been so busy gushing over her crush that she forgot the most important thing? But when she saw Gao Zheng swaying hips with each step, her eyes became a little dazed. Even his carefree attitude made him so handsome. "I'm dying." Chapter 3. Do you still want to play football? As soon as Lin Yuan finished training, he couldn't wait to drag his sister away. He didn't want her to stay any longer. If she stayed any longer, Coach Gao would be completely captivated by her. Lin Cici, who was being pulled away by Lin Yuan, was indeed very reluctant to leave, turning back every few steps. She still couldn't bring herself to ask him out on the date. Losing the moment felt like losing all her courage. The other children were picked up by their parents, and the football training field gradually returned to quiet and deserted. As the sun began to set, the shadows of a row of makeshift houses along the field were stretched long and projected onto the field. It was already quite late, and without the lights on, it would be impossible to play football here at night. Yang Wenlong's training center naturally couldn't afford the high electricity bills. The stadium lights consume a lot of electricity, so it closed at night. Actually, if many children came to learn football in the evenings, it wouldn't be impossible to pay the electricity bill and open another class, but there simply weren't enough students. In reality, Yang Wenlong's football training class only has 2 sessions, on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. There aren't that many children who are interested in football, and very few parents are willing to spend money to send their children to play football. The current state of Chinese football is like this dilapidated and shabby stadium. Nobody wants to be associated with football. Sending your child here to play football would ruin their life. No biological parent would want to do that. Gao Zheng and Yang Wenlong put all the training equipment into the storeroom. He locked the door, took the key, and prepared to go out for dinner. Just then, Yang Wenlong pulled him back. "What are you thinking?" Seeing Coach Yang's serious expression, Gao Zheng was somewhat surprised and flustered. He quickly explained, "I really have no feelings for Lin Yuan's sister, old man, don't overthink it. Don't worry, I would never do anything to tarnish the reputation of our training program." Yang Wenlong was surprised by Gao Zheng's answer and smacked Gao Zheng on the head in annoyance. "What are you thinking? That's not what I asked." Gao Zheng patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank goodness." "What's so good about it?" "I'm asking about your future plans." Gao Zheng placed his hand on his heart. "Old Gao called me today." "My dad?" Yang Wenlong nodded. "He asked me to persuade you to go back to university." Gao Zheng remained silent. "I think your dad has a point." According to regulations, national first-class athletes under the age of 22 are eligible for special university admissions. You're not even 20 yet, so you can definitely go to university, graduate, and find a job. Gao Zheng shook his head and refused decisively, I'm not going. Yang Wenlong was not surprised by his attitude, and did not even try to persuade him further. Instead, he offered another solution, then you should get a coaching license and become a coach. Gao Zheng looked distressed, I'm no cut out to be a coach. I can't even manage myself, let alone others. The two were like soldiers to be blocked and water to be damned, and Gao Zheng rejected Yang Wenlong's suggestions with various reasons. Then Yang Wenlong suddenly asked, so, do you still want to play football? Gao Zheng's mouth was open, but he didn't say anything. Speak up. Weren't you quite the talker just now? Gao Zheng could only shake his head, I don't know. You don't know? Then why do you go out and play matches with people every week? I was just doing it to make some money. These are all amateur competitions, just to earn some living expenses. Gao Zheng said with a grin. If you want to make money, why don't you sign a contract with me? I'll pay you a salary every month, why would you need to be a mercenary? You know how people are criticizing you online, right? Gao Zheng looked nonchalant as he turned his gaze to the field. Some parts of the artificial turf had been worn down, revealing the asphalt underneath, which looked like black holes on the field. Old man, your training center doesn't look like it's run by anyone with a lot of money, does it? Supporting you is no problem. Enough nonsense, you need to give me a straight answer today. Are you kicking me or not? I'm still playing, at least one game a week, and at most 3. Gao Zheng still smiled in the face of Coach Yang's anger. You know what I mean by kicking. Gao Zheng looked troubled, old man, I'm hungry. Can we talk about it another day? No way. You'd better explain yourself today. You've been here for almost a year, haven't you? If you didn't want to play football, what were you training here for every morning and evening? Well, we need to play matches every week to earn money, so of course we need to maintain our competitive form. You drink little, don't smoke, and you're taking playing casual soccer so seriously to maintain your form. You think I don't know anything about soccer? Gao Zheng was speechless. You have a home but don't go home, you don't go to school, you don't do work, you don't even want a salary, and you just live in this dilapidated shack and train twice a day. What the hell are you doing here like an ascetic? Yang Wenlong questioned. Gao Zheng couldn't give any answer because he himself didn't have an answer to this question at all. Seeing Gao Zheng's head bowed and silent, Yang Wenlong roared, if you can't make up your mind, I'll make it up for you. He then grabbed a broom from beside him, saying, I'll break your legs and make you completely give up on playing football. Stop fooling around, old man. Gao Zheng quickly jumped up to dodge. Who's messing with you? I'm serious. With that, Yang Wenlong picked up the broom again. Upon seeing this, Gao Zheng turned and ran. Yang Wenlong waved a broom and chased after him, you brat, don't you dare run away. I'd be a fool not to run. Gao Zheng ran even faster. The two, one old and one young, began their chase on the football field. But Yang Wenlong was 60 years old after all, how could he possibly keep up with an energetic young man? After running only a couple of laps, he was so tired that he collapsed on the ground, panting heavily. Gao Zheng then cautiously approached, old man, why are you doing this? Before he could finish speaking, Yang Wenlong suddenly threw the broom in his hand at him. Gao Zheng nimbly turned around and dodged, passing the broom to him. Wow, you cheated. He pointed at Coach Yang, shouting in an exaggerated and affected manner. Yang Wenlong snorted, you're quite agile, aren't you? Your turn when you dodged was quick, and your left foot doesn't look like it's had surgery. Gao Zheng was stunned. Your foot, have you rested enough? Yang Wenlong, sitting on the ground, gestured with his chin toward Gao Zheng's left foot. My foot, Gao Zheng looked down at his left foot. Chapter 4 Authority. Gao Zheng looked down at his left foot, and in his ear was the voice of Dr. Danny Tognasini, the head of the Strength and Sports Rehabilitation Training Group in the club's medical laboratory. Your left foot. The problem is with your left foot. To be honest, I don't think it's likely to be able to handle professional football anymore. We analyzed all your physical data after your serious injury in 2008, and there's a harsh truth I feel I have to tell you, it's for your own good. I don't think you can continue playing professional football in your current physical condition. If you don't want to spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair or with crutches, the best thing to do now is to end your professional football career. Upon hearing this, Gao Zheng raised his head and stared wide-eyed at the Milan laboratory director in front of him, who was dressed in a suit and tie. As a player who played for AC Milan for 3 years, he knew all too well the significance of the Milan lab at the club. Every piece of information about player health that came from the lab would attract the club's attention and even the attention of the entire football world. How many players have lost the opportunity to join AC Milan because of a single statement from the Milan lab? The Milan laboratory is an authority in this field. But now, this authority is telling him it's best not to try and continue playing professional football, but what else can he do if he doesn't play professional football? Isn't this forcing him to retire? He's only 18. Seeing Gao Zheng's expression, AC Milan's youth academy director, Philippe Galli, coughed and interrupted Tognacini, fearing that if he continued, the boy would burst into tears. That's how it is, Gao. We really love the talent you've shown, but it's a shame you suffered a serious injury at the most crucial time. I'm so sorry, it was a tragedy. The club tried to give you time and patience to help you recover, but, Galli hesitated for a moment before continuing. The data from the Milan lab tells us that you have a slight physical issue. It's nothing serious and won't affect your health, as long as you don't continue playing football is fine, as long as it's not professional football. I hope you can understand the club's decision. After all, every young talent is a valuable asset to us, and we wouldn't have made this decision if we weren't truly powerless. Your contract expires in 6 months, and during those 6 months, the club will enroll you in a coaching training course. Not being able to continue professional football doesn't mean you have to leave football completely. Personally, I still hope you can continue to pursue your football dreams in another profession. As he spoke, he saw Gao Zheng shake his head. No need, let's terminate the contract. Let's terminate it ahead of schedule, Gao Zheng said in a hoarse voice. Jilly was surprised that Gao Zheng would ask to terminate the contract early. Actually, it doesn't have to be. Gao Zheng pointed at Tognacini. Didn't he just say that if I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, or be with crutches for the rest of my life, it's best to end my professional football career? I really don't want to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, nor do I want to walk with crutches. Since there are still 6 months left on my contract, what am I doing staying? Increasing my chances of becoming disabled? Galli had nothing to say, and he turned his gaze to Tognacini, who shrugged and spread his hands in response. He sighed and nodded. All right. After negotiation, both parties agreed to terminate the contract 6 months early. Standing in front of Yang Longwen, Gao Zheng said dejectedly, but the Milan lab said. Bullshit Milan lab. Yang Longwen suddenly cursed. Gao Zheng couldn't understand Coach Yang's attitude. Old man, they are authorities. Bullshit authority. Coach Yang interrupted Gao Zheng again with a barrage of insults. Does authority guarantee your right? Does authority prevent you from making mistakes? What if the authority is wrong this time? You've been here with me for a year. Has your left foot injury flared up again? You've played so many unofficial matches outside. Have you felt any discomfort in your left foot? Don't you have any self-awareness? Faced with Yang Jidao's barrage of insults, Gao Zheng remained silent. Seeing his expression, Yang Wenlong snorted heavily. You're so fussy even when playing football, that's all you've got. After he finished cursing, he got up from the ground and dusted off his butt. Pick up the broom yourself. The old man turned and walked away. Gao Zheng stood there without picking up the broom, staring blankly at Coach Yang's somewhat unsteady steps. He suddenly remembered something. The verdict from the Milan laboratory wasn't the first time he'd been sentenced to death since he started playing football. When he was 10 years old, his height increased rapidly, but his muscle and nerve development didn't keep up, resulting in some physical disharmony. Despite being taller than his peers, he was slow and clumsy. His teammates nicknamed him Big Dumb Guy to mock him. He couldn't stand it and got into a fight with the person who started calling him that. When his parents brought him to apologize to the person he had beaten, the coach said to them, "Take him home. Don't waste your money. He's not cut out for football." In Gao Zheng's young mind, the coach was the authority figure. And when even the authority figure said that, his world collapsed. The person who helped him get back on his feet was the old man, Coach Yang. It was he who went to Gao Zheng's parents and persuaded them to let him continue learning to play football, patting his chest and assuring them that the child was a genius with talent far exceeding that of ordinary people. Coach Yang is not a professional coach and is not well known in Chinese football. He is just an ordinary coach at a football school. The reason he knew Gao Zheng was because 2 years ago, Gao Zheng's football school and his own football school had a match, during which he witnessed firsthand the talent displayed by the young Gao Zheng. So, after hearing that Gao Zheng had been expelled from his previous football school, he approached him and recruited the despairing Gao Zheng into his school. Gao Zheng remembered that the first question Coach Yang asked him back then was exactly the same as today: "Do you still want to play football?" What was my answer to him at the time? With unwavering resolve and without hesitation, he straightened his back and almost roared, "I want to play football." Why is it that I can't say those words today? Was it because I was young and ignorant at the time, and had not yet experienced the cruelty and coldness of this world? Bullshit cruelty. Bullshit coldness. You're a 20-year-old brat, what kind of profound nonsense are you spouting? What world have you seen that you dare to act so high and mighty? Suddenly, the old man's roar exploded in his ears, startling Gao Zheng. The old man had returned. Gao Zheng snapped out of his daze and found himself still on the court. It was now safely dark, and he was surrounded by complete darkness. Where was the old man who had returned? There was indeed a sound in my ear, but it wasn't the old man's roar, it was the ringing of a cell phone coming from my pants pocket. It was Director Zhao calling. As soon as the call connected, Gao Zheng heard Director Zhao's excited voice. "Brother Zheng. Brother Zheng. A big business opportunity has arrived." Chapter 5 Amateur Competitions. Zhao Ju is not an abbreviation of Director Zhao. His name on his ID card and household registration is written as Zhao Ju. His name is Director Zhao. When Director Zhao's father named him, he held on to the simple Chinese parental values of hoping his son would become a dragon and whatever name you choose reflects what you will look like, and gave his son this name, hoping that his son would become a director in the future. However, this child from an ordinary farming family was clearly not cut out to be an official. He was not good at studying from a young age and eventually turned to playing football. This is how he became teammates with Gao Zheng at the football academy. Although he calls Gao Zheng Brother Zheng, he's actually a few months older than Gao Zheng. Director Zhao is now standing outside the gate of Yang Wenlong's football training class, waiting for Gao Zheng to come out. Gao Zheng was leading the children in their pre-training warm-up inside. Yang Wenlong saw Director Zhao peeking in from the doorway. Like Gao Zheng, Director Zhao was also his disciple, but the two had vastly different talents. He knew what Director Zhao was doing with Gao Zheng right now, and to be honest, he didn't like this kind of thing. Director Zhao probably knew his attitude too, so every time he came to see Gao Zheng, he hid outside and didn't dare to come in. In fact, Yang Wenlong's attitude towards Gao Zheng was different from his attitude towards him. He would directly curse at Gao Zheng if he was dissatisfied, but he had never cursed at Director Zhao. He couldn't bring himself to do it. He always felt that Director Zhao's current situation was related to himself. If Director Zhao hadn't learned to play football from him in the first place, perhaps he wouldn't have ended up like this. Gao Zheng finished leading the warm-up, greeted Yang Wenlong, and walked straight out of the training center without even changing his clothes. Yang Wenlong snorted behind him, then yelled at the children, "You want to rest after warming up? Get up, all of you." When Gao Zheng saw Director Zhao, he greeted him, "Old Zhao, you're waiting outside again. I've told you so many times, this old man won't eat you." Director Zhao shook his head, "I'm still afraid of him." "What's there to be afraid of about that old man?" Gao Zheng scoffed. Director Zhao laughed, "Of course you don't need to be afraid of him. Back then, everyone on the team knew you were his godson, Let's go, the match starts in an hour, let's get there early and leave a good impression on the bosses." After saying that, he turned and walked towards a dilapidated Wuling Rongguang parked on the side of the road. The headlights and rearview mirrors of the car were taped on with transparent tape. Who knows how many times this old, Iraqi-looking car has been owned. Anyway, it is said that Director Zhao bought it for 2,000 yuan. He usually uses it to haul goods, and when Gao Zheng has a competition, it serves as Gao Zheng's special car. As Director Zhao turned to walk towards the car, Gao Zheng's gaze fell on his right knee. With a little attention, it was clear that his walking posture was a bit strange, the way he exerted force with his right leg was different from that of his left leg, and his body was not very coordinated. Gao Zheng turned his gaze away from Director Zhao's right knee and looked at his own left foot. Sitting in the passenger seat of the limousine, Gao Zheng listened as Director Zhao briefed him on the competition as he drove. The two companies are competitors, so they've always had a grudge. Last month, they invited your company's team to play against them in the other city, but they lost 1-5 and were ridiculed for half a month. They couldn't swallow that, so they arranged a second match, this time at home. Of course, they wanted to get revenge, so they came to you. Gao Zheng replied absent-mindedly, oh. However, this opponent is considered strong in amateur football, they've won second place in their city's amateur football competition. Several players on the team have experience in professional football, or have played for professional football club youth teams. Oh. Actually, there are 2 players from your team who used to play in China League 2, but judging from the 1-5 score, the other team is obviously stronger. But it's better to have strong opponents, right? Stronger opponents mean more money, hee. Director Zhao laughed happily. The employer paid him 3,000 yuan just for his appearance fee for this match, and promised an additional 7,000 yuan bonus if he helped the team win. Usually, when he played these kinds of matchups with Gao Zheng, he was lucky to earn 500 or 600 yuan per game. That's why he was so excited, his voice was trembling when he called Gao Zheng last night. Just as Director Zhao was dreaming of 10,000 yuan, Gao Zheng, leaning back in his chair, was already yawning. 40 minutes later, Gao Zheng and Director Zhao arrived at the match venue, a football field at a university on the outskirts of the city. There, Gao Zheng also met his patron, Mr. Dong, the owner of a private company called Hongguang. Upon seeing Gao Zheng, Boss Dong shook his hand and said, I've heard so much about you. Come on, help me take a picture with the star player Gao. The secretary on the other end immediately raised her phone. Gao Zheng gave a thumbs up with practiced ease, grinned to reveal 8 teeth in 2 rows, and his perfect smile was captured on camera. He had dealt with this scenario countless times over the past 6 months and was already very familiar with it. After taking a group photo, Gao Zheng and his benefactor, Mr. Dong, had a very pleasant conversation. Mr. Dong was very pleased and satisfied, patting Gao Zheng on the shoulder and praising him repeatedly, with you here, we're sure to win this time. Then I'm going to warm up, Mr. Dong. Alright, go ahead. After saying goodbye to his sponsor, Gao Zheng walked towards a corner of the field. He originally planned to just warm up casually, like in the amateur matches he had participated in before. He would just stretch his muscles and get his body warmed up. In matches of this level, he sometimes won without even breaking a sweat. He didn't need to sprint at full speed during the match, he could win even while strolling around. There was really no need to take it too seriously. But just as Gao Zheng was about to do that, he remembered his conversation with the old man the previous evening. You've been here with me for a year. Has your left foot injury flared up again? You've played so many unofficial matches outside. Have you ever felt any discomfort in your left foot? Don't you have any self-awareness? Almost a year ago, Gao Zheng fled Milan like a stray dog, unwilling to go home and face his parents, so he came to hide with the old man. The football school where the old man used to work had long since closed down because it couldn't recruit enough students, and now he had come south to open a football training class here, barely making ends meet. At the time, Gao Zheng had no idea what he was going to do next, and at first he didn't even dare to touch the ball. Later, he couldn't resist and started playing football, playing in these amateur street football matches. Looking back on the past 6 months of competitions, it seems there haven't been any signs of his left foot injury recurring. Of course, this may be related to the fact that the intensity of amateur competitions is not very high. He remembered what Lao Zhao had told him earlier that day. Today's opponents were very strong, being the runners-up in the city-level amateur football competition, and their team also included some players who had played in professional leagues. Gao Zheng thought that if it was really as powerful as Lao Zhao said, he could use it to test whether his feet could handle it. With this in mind, Gao Zheng decided to take things more seriously. He started warming up using the standards of a professional athlete. While Gao Zheng was warming up, Director Zhao stood on the sidelines looking around. This is a football field on a university campus. Besides those who have paid for the field, there are actually many university students playing football. The game hasn't started yet, so they can still play on the field, but they'll have to be kicked off by the administrators soon. Besides the college students playing football, there were also some sports enthusiasts jogging on the track, and couples could be seen huddled together in the corners of the stands, whispering secrets. Others sat in the stands, loudly reciting English from a book. In this spacious and noisy place, such volume went unnoticed and wouldn't disturb others, making it even more effective than reciting in a study room. As Director Zhao watched the scene unfold before him, a smile involuntarily crept onto his face. He likes it here, he likes the university. Director Zhao, who is about to turn 20, has never attended university. He went on to pursue a professional football career after graduating from elementary school. If it weren't for the 9-year compulsory education system, he wouldn't even have been able to get a junior high school diploma. With only a junior high school diploma, he was both envious and curious about everything in university. He envied the carefree lives of these privileged students and was curious about the many facets of university life that he had never seen. If only I could go to university. Director Zhao was filled with anticipation. Then a sharp voice shattered his reverie. Oh! Isn't this Director Zhao? Chapter 6, The Golden Right Foot. Hey! Isn't this Director Zhao? Upon hearing this distinctive voice, Director Zhao's heart sank, and then an arm wrapped around his neck and draped over his shoulder. It's been a long time, Director Zhao. The sharp voice was already right next to his ear, and the owner of the voice was right beside him. Director Zhao turned his head and, sure enough, saw a man with a pointed mouth and monkey-like face, sporting a head of blonde hair, and a sinister smile. Fu Jian, your friend? A slightly older man next to him asked curiously. This man was surrounded by 3 other people, and it was obvious that he was the leader of this group. Yes, it's an old friend. It's been so many years. I never expected to see you here. Ha! Your friend is the bureau chief. Why don't you introduce him? The older brother smiled broadly at Director Zhao. Fu Jian quickly waved his hand and said with a smile, what director? His name is Director Zhao. Zhang, Wan, Li, Zhao, director's name is just that. Someone behind the older brother laughed. Wow, what a weird name. Fu Jian laughed even harder, right? Because of this name, we all call him director. Oh dear, Brother Qing, you've misunderstood. This kid, like us, is a soccer player. Oh no, he used to be a soccer player. Director Zhao felt Fu Jian tighten his grip on his arm. To outsiders, this might seem like a sign of intimacy, but Director Zhao felt a tightness around his neck, making it difficult for him to breathe. Upon hearing that the other party wasn't some kind of official, Qing Ji's smile vanished instantly, replaced by a cold sneer. You guys are teammates? Fu Jian released Zhao's neck, and Zhao was finally able to breathe. As Director Zhao gasped for breath, he heard Fu Jian say to Brother Qing, we used to play together when we were in the Deshang youth team. Deshang is a local professional football club, which is why Director Zhao, who is not a local, has stayed in the city for several years. He played in Deshang's youth team and naturally chose to stay in the city, where he had more opportunities than if he had returned to his hometown. Also from Deshang. Brother Qing pondered for a moment, then frowned and looked to the other side, where their opponents in this match were the Hongguang football team. Fu Jian understood what Qing Gu meant. A strange smile appeared on his face, and he pointed his thumb behind him at Director Zhao, who was still catching his breath. Qing Gu, you don't know, Director Zhao has a nickname. What nickname? Brother Qing looked at Director Zhao and sneered. The golden right foot. That powerful? Brother Qing's expression immediately turned serious. Fu Jian asked with a smile, Brother Qing, haven't you seen Stephen Chow's Shaolin Soccer? Before Qing could react, someone behind him burst into laughter. So this Director Zhao is a cripple. Director Zhao held his breath, his face turning extremely grim. Yeah. He's a cripple. Fu Jian seemed completely oblivious to Director Zhao's expression, patting Director Zhao's shoulder forcefully while laughing exaggeratedly. A group of people surrounded Director Zhao, laughing so hard they were doubled over. Amid their laughter, Director Zhao lowered his head, clutching the hem of his jacket tightly with both hands. He was embarrassed but dared not retaliate. Just then, a tall figure appeared beside him, put his arm around his shoulder, and leaned closer. Hey, Lao Zhao, are these your friends? Introduce them. As soon as Director Zhao turned around, he saw Gao Zheng's smiling face, looking at Fu Jian and his group. What interesting things are you talking about? Tell us about it. Fu Jian and his group's laughter was abruptly interrupted. Facing this uninvited guest who was clearly there to back up Director Zhao, they let out a dissatisfied snort. Who are you? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Lao Zhao's teammate, my name is Gao Zheng. Gao Zheng waved to them. You're his teammate? I've never seen you before. Wait, your name is Gao Zheng? Fu Jian exclaimed, pointing at Gao Zheng. That Gao Zheng? Gao Zheng smiled and nodded. That's right, it's that Gao Zheng. Brother Qin was also surprised. Gao Zheng? Yes, it's Gao Zheng, the prodigy who was released early by AC Milan. Fu Jian realized what was going on, looked at Gao Zheng in his red jersey, and mocked. Someone online said Gao Zheng was playing amateur football, and I didn't believe it, but it turns out it's true. TSK, who would have thought that the once prodigy would fall to this state? I understand why AC Milan didn't want you. Shut up. Director Zhao, who hadn't uttered a sound even after being mocked, suddenly roared, Fu Jian, what do you know? What nonsense are you spouting? Fu Jian spread his hands and scoffed, what don't I understand? It's just that his skill level is terrible, so AC Milan doesn't even consider him. The domestic media keeps hyping him up as a peerless genius, which might fool stupid fans, but it won't fool us insiders. You son of a bitch. Director Zhao clenched his fists in anger, but Gao Zheng pulled him back. Despite facing Fu Jian's constant mockery and provocation, Gao Zheng did not fly into a rage. Instead, he held Zhao Ju's hand with one hand, put the other hand in his sweatpants pocket, and said with a smile, I don't know if my skill level is bad or not, but I'm still good enough to beat you guys. His tone was casual, as if winning a victory were as simple and easy as eating and drinking. Fu Jian, Qin Gu, and their group all changed color at the same time. They were being blatantly looked down upon. Brother Qin said in a deep voice, Kid, don't be so arrogant. Gao Zheng said with a grin, whether you're arrogant or not, we'll find out during the competition. Qin took a deep breath and nodded, saying, okay. Let's go. Fu Jian pointed at Director Zhao next to Gao Zheng, gave him a thumbs up, and sneered, that cripple is pretty good at sucking up to powerful figures, finding a genius to back him up. He has good taste. I admire him. After saying that, he turned around and followed his companions to the other side of the field. Watching their retreating figures, Gao Zheng asked Director Zhao, who was still panting heavily beside him, who are they? Your opponent in this match. That runner-up team, are all 5 of them professionals? I'm not sure, but there's one person who definitely isn't, and one person who definitely isn't. Director Zhao stared intently at the backs of the 5 people. Gao Zheng tilted his head. Fu Jian and I both left before we even got to play for the first team. So he's not considered a professional. Fu Jian. That blonde guy? Yes, that's him. Speaking of which, why did he cause you trouble? Director Zhao paused briefly before saying, we used to play in Deshang's youth team. He was my rival, and he's always disliked me ever since because he was my substitute. Later, I got injured, and he became a starter, and he started acting all high and mighty in front of me. Gao Zheng said, Old Zhao, you retired because of an injury, but I see he's still playing, though he hasn't made it to professional matches, which means his skill level isn't that great. Director Zhao snorted, of course he's not that great. He can't even compete with me. If I hadn't been injured, he wouldn't have had a chance. But even if I hadn't been injured, I might not have been able to play in professional matches. So you can tell how good he is, right? Gao Zheng watched as the blonde-haired Fu Jian spoke to Brother Qing with considerable respect. Is he the professional player, the one who looks like the boss? Director Zhao nodded. That guy in charge of construction is called Brother Qing. As far as I know, the person who's called that is Yan Qing. He retired last year, and he was 28 when he retired. Retired at 28? Nobody wanted him, so why wouldn't he retire? He played in the China League 1 at best, but only for 1 season, playing 2 games. Then he was relegated to China League 2, and even that didn't work out, so of course he had to retire. But looking at him now, he's probably the strongest player on this team. Gao Zheng stared at Yan Qing's figure in the distance without saying a word. Director Zhao was somewhat worried. Actually, Brother Zheng, you didn't need to stand up for me just now. It's not a good thing to offend them. How? Who knows what those people might do if you piss them off? We're here to help them win and make money, so we want to avoid trouble as much as possible. Besides, they can laugh at me a few times, but it won't hurt me at all, so why bother? Gao Zheng suddenly slapped Director Zhao on the head, startling Director Zhao for a moment. Then he looked at Gao Zheng with incomprehension. Idiot, I'm deliberately trying to provoke them. Huh? Director Zhao's mouth dropped open, his face filled with disbelief. Why? Because I wanted to make this competition a little more challenging, that would make it more fun. Gao Zheng's eyes narrowed into slits with laughter, his gaze obscured. Director Zhao couldn't tell at all whether he was joking or serious. Chapter 7 That's my buddy. Is Gao Zheng that powerful? One of the three people with Fu Jian asked. What's so great about it? Fu Jian waved his hand dismissively. If you were really that great, would you be here now? But didn't the newspapers and news reports all cover him back then? You all know the true nature of the Chinese media, right? They love nothing more than exaggeration. Just because someone can play abroad is impressive, they exaggerate it to the point of making him a football legend. And then what? How many examples like this have we seen over the years? Who knows how he got to AC Milan? Maybe his family bribed him. We've seen this kind of thing countless times, heh. Fu Jian felt increasingly certain he had stumbled upon the truth. It must be true. Has any of you actually seen him play? Isn't it all just media hype? Everyone thought it made sense. Gao Zheng's fame was all due to media publicity, but few people had actually seen his actual abilities, at least, none of them had. At this moment, Yan Qing said from the side, no matter what he does, there are 5 of us on this side, and he's only one person. Do you think he can cause any trouble? Fu Jian quickly gave a thumbs up. Our brother Qing is right after all. What do we have to worry about with just that kid? We'll make him kneel down and call us dad after we beat him, As the agreed match time approached, the players from both sides took to the field. The Hongguan team wore red jerseys, while their opponents, the Xinglong team, wore blue jerseys. The red and blue color scheme has always been a traditional rivalry in football. The college students who were playing and having fun on the field were also cleared away. Seeing that there was a game, they didn't leave but stood on the sidelines and in the stands, waiting to watch the game. Gao Zheng stood on the field and looked towards the stands, where there were actually more than 100 spectators scattered around. He recalled that when he played for AC Milan U16, some matches only had this many spectators on the sidelines. I suddenly missed the days when I played football in Italy. Just as Gao Zheng was in a daze, a clear whistle pulled him back to reality. The match has begun. Soon, someone from the Hongguan team passed the ball to Gao Zheng. He had already met his teammates before the match, and everyone knew that he was Gao Zheng, so they naturally passed the ball to him. On Xinglong's side, Fu Jian was also happy to see Gao Zheng receive the ball. As a midfielder, he quickly rushed forward, wanting to intercept Gao Zheng's pass and prove to his teammates that Gao Zheng was truly a mere imposter, a fake genius created by the media. Gao Zheng had his back to him and was preparing to receive the ball, completely unaware of him. This was a great opportunity. Thinking of this, Fu Jian took a step forward and rushed over from the side and behind, intending to unexpectedly steal the ball from Gao Zheng's feet. But Gao Zheng seemed to have eyes in the back of his head. Just as Fu Jian rushed up, he lifted his foot and gently tapped the flying football behind him, and the football passed between Fu Jian's legs. As Gao Zheng dribbled the ball, he also turned around, grazing past Fu Jian's body. Oh! Upon seeing Gao Zheng's move, the college students on the sidelines and in the stands gasped in surprise. Many of them were football players and naturally understood how difficult it was to stop a high ball. Yet this tall guy managed to stop and turn in one go, completing a move that would normally require several steps for an average person. Moreover, his movements were completely different from those of people who struggled to complete them. He did it with ease and grace, as if every joint in his body was dancing, full of rhythm. His long hair fluttered with his movements, making the eyes of the girls in the stands who were with their boyfriends light up. After getting past Fu Jian, Gao Zheng dribbled the ball forward. By this time, he had reached the edge of the penalty area. He glanced up at the goal and then swung his right foot while running. This looks like a very ordinary action, and it doesn't remind people of shooting at all, because he didn't have any deliberate power-building process. But when he kicked the ball, it shot forward rapidly, then dipped sharply in front of the goal. The Xinglong team's goalkeeper was completely unprepared for this dip, not to mention Gao Zheng's shot, which came without warning and caught him off guard. He didn't even have time to make a save before the ball nestled into the goal just past the post. Goal! The game had only been going on for 2 minutes when Gao Zheng scored a goal on his first touch of the ball. The teammates of the red light team were stunned at first, then cheered, and some even went up to give Gao Zheng a high five and a hug. Gao Zheng, however, remained remarkably calm, nonchalantly dealing with his teammates who came up to celebrate with him. He wasn't showing off, he genuinely didn't think there was anything to celebrate about that goal. This shot was just like a shooting practice in his training session, no contact, no pressure, no difficulty whatsoever. If he still couldn't score from this, he might as well forget about playing professional football anymore. But others thought differently, and the college student audience members in the audience were shouting and yelling. Holy crap! That's a world-class goal. That was an absolutely amazing shot. That dribble. That shot. Awesome. Is he a professional player? The boys were thrilled to see such a beautiful goal, while the girls were captivated by Gao Zheng's calm, elegant demeanor and smile. So handsome. Amid the cheers, Fu Jian's face was extremely grim. He had become the backdrop for this spectacular goal. The key point is that before the match, he confidently asserted that Gao Zheng was nothing but a pretty face, a hyped-up genius. Gao Zheng's goal felt like a slap in the face to him. Fu Jian, what were you doing just now? Qin Gu roared from behind. You went in so recklessly. Fu Jian quickly got up and apologized to Brother Qing. It's my fault, I won't do it again next time, Brother Qing. Then he turned his gaze to Gao Zheng, who was surrounded by his teammates. He pounced too fast, he didn't even see how the other guy got past him. But as he was getting beaten, he heard cheers from the sidelines, and he could guess that the kid had used a very beautiful, even somewhat flashy, move to get past him. We're all football players, how could we not know what it means to play fancy tricks in front of the opponent? That bastard. The game restarted, and Gao Zheng scored a beautiful goal, which greatly boosted the morale and fighting spirit of the Hongguang team. In the following match, the Hongguang team gained the upper hand, and the ball was passed to Gao Zheng more often. But whether it was intentional or not, Gao Zheng always seemed to find Fu Jian when he got the ball. Fu Jian was now at odds with Gao Zheng. He had just been easily outmaneuvered by Gao Zheng, and he was determined not to let that go. Next, Gao Zheng performed a set of fancy dribbling highlights for everyone. Although Gao Zheng is 1.9 meters tall, he looks very agile and doesn't give people the usual impression of a tall person. Fu Jian couldn't stop Gao Zheng at all. He could only become the backdrop for Gao Zheng's breakthroughs time and time again. Every time Gao Zheng beat him, cheers and cheerful laughter would erupt from the stands. In the 20th minute of the match, Gao Zheng and Fu Jian clashed for the 5th time. Gao Zheng received the ball on the side of the penalty area, and Fu Jian made a direct interception. Gao Zheng raised his left foot to kick the football, but he didn't hit it. Instead, the ball slid past him. This was a typical step-over move. Next, he should have slid his right foot past the ball as well. After all, doing it only once wouldn't be deceptive enough. Fu Jian remained unmoved. Gao Zheng's right foot followed, but instead of sliding over the ball to complete the step-over feint, he gently touched the ball to the left with his toe as it reached behind it, causing the ball to roll to the left. Upon seeing the movement of the ball, Fu Jian assumed that Gao Zheng was about to break through on the left flank, so he stopped waiting in place and quickly rushed over. Just as the ball rolled past, Gao Zheng gently deflected it back with his left foot. The football went right through Fu Jian's legs as he took a step forward. Gao Zheng dodged Fu Jian, who had already lunged forward, caught up with the ball, and broke into the penalty area. Wow! He dribbled past the opponent and even nutmegged her. The boys on the sidelines exclaimed again. That was so cool. So cool, the girls cheered. Fu Jian tried to stop Gao Zheng, but he lost his balance and fell to the ground. He could only turn around and watch helplessly as Gao Zheng swung his right foot and shot. The football drew an arc, bypassed all the defenders, and headed straight for the top corner of the goal. The Xinglong team's goalkeeper did attempt to save, but it was too late, he couldn't touch the ball at all. The football grazed the underside of the crossbar and flew into the goal. Beautiful, cheered the red light team and the audience. Another world-class goal. Get out of the way. Yan Qing pushed Fu Jian aside. Don't worry about him, let me handle this. Fu Jian didn't dare to compete with Qinggu, so he could only glare fiercely at Gao Zheng in the distance. Even after scoring the goal, he still showed no intention of celebrating. That's amazing. That's amazing. The college students watching from the sidelines were full of praise for Gao Zheng's performance. His skill level is completely superior. That dribbling. That shot. I never imagined I'd see scenes from European leagues at school. Exactly. I'm going to call my roommates and tell them to come see the star player. Is this a guest appearance by some professional team? Come and see. There's a star player on field number 1. Everyone called on their friends and family, all for Gao Zheng's sake. Hearing the excited words and seeing the excited smiles on the faces of the college students, Director Zhao pointed at Gao Zheng and shouted to them, "My buddy. My buddy." The students gave him a thumbs up, "You're awesome, buddy." Director Zhao smiled broadly, puffed out his chest, and felt honored to receive the praise from the college students. Additionally, unless otherwise specified, I aim to maintain 2 updates per day. I will also notify you of any adjustments, such as if I run out of drafts, in which case I will definitely adjust the update schedule accordingly. Chapter 8 Born Football Stars. Gao Zheng scored 2 goals in just 20 minutes, which made Mr. Dong, the owner of Hongguang, who was watching the game from the sidelines, very happy. Seeing the opponents looking ashen-faced, he felt that the money was well spent. Indeed, there's nothing money can't buy in this world. He slapped his thigh hard, his face flushed, cheering for Gao Zheng. On the court, Gao Zheng's opponent has changed to Yan Qing. Remembering that Lao Zhao had mentioned that this person had played in the China League 1 before, although only for 1 season, Gao Zheng still perked up a bit, wanting to see just how good the China League 1 really was. Therefore, he was more serious when facing Yan Qing than when facing that blonde guy. Yan Qing did indeed demonstrate some of the skills he had acquired while playing in the China League 1, constantly marking Gao Zheng and not giving him many opportunities. Whenever Gao Zheng got the ball, Yan Qing would use his body to charge at him. In Gao Zheng's mind, this guy was indeed more difficult to deal with than Huang Mao. But it was only some. Yan Qing's physical confrontation did not pose a challenge for Gao Zheng, and he was fully capable of withstanding it. So in the 35th minute, Gao Zheng scored his 3rd goal of the game, despite Yan Qing's defense. On the field, Hongguang team is leading Xinglong team 3-0. The away team was completely stunned by Gao Zheng and had no chance to fight back. During halftime, Yan Qing grabbed Fu Jian by the collar and demanded, "Didn't you fucking say that kid wasn't good enough?" Fu Jian was frustrated and aggrieved, "How should I know? He's completely different now than he was before the match when he was so arrogant in front of Zhao." Seeing that he couldn't make sense of it, Yan Qing snorted and then said to the others, "We'll completely surround him in the second half. I think they only have Gao Zheng left. Don't let him have a chance to shoot." When the second half of the game started, there were already quite a few people in the stands outside the stadium, far more than at the start of the first half. Some were called over by their roommates or classmates, while others came to watch the excitement because they always heard cheers and screams coming from the stadium. Those who had watched the first half of the game enthusiastically recounted the brilliant performance of the red team's number 10 to the newcomers, speaking with great enthusiasm, as if they had already become Gao Zheng's fans. Director Zhao looked back at them. He had helped Brother Zheng arrange these kinds of amateur competitions many times before, but this was the first time he had seen one with such a large audience and atmosphere. He then turned his gaze to Gao Zheng, who was preparing for the match on the court. After the start of the second half, the Xinglong team, wearing blue jerseys, did indeed strengthen their defense against Gao Zheng, especially his shots. But this doesn't mean they can stop Gao Zheng. When Gao Zheng casually flicked an aerial ball with his heel to his teammate behind him, assisting in a score, the stands erupted in screams and cheers once again. This works. So cool. Why does he perform such difficult moves so effortlessly? Gao Zheng didn't really have many shooting opportunities, but by moving his position back slightly, he instantly became a player who could provide assists to his teammates. If Xinglong team were to come up and continue to mark him tightly, more gaps would appear behind him. Hongguang team also had two players who had previously come from China League 2, and their strength was not bad. They could easily find openings and seize opportunities. However, for the Xinglong team, especially their captain Yan Qing, the goal is no longer to win the game, he's now locked in a battle with Gao Zheng. As he closely marked Gao Zheng's backline, he gritted his teeth and said, "Don't even think about scoring another goal in front of me." Gao Zheng turned around and asked, "Are you sure? Come and try if you dare." Gao Zheng laughed, "You said it yourself." After saying that, he ran towards the restricted area. When a Hongguang teammate received the ball near the penalty area, Gao Zheng, who was originally in the middle, made a diagonal run, moving towards the flank. Centre-back Yan Qing immediately followed up, denying him space to receive the ball. It seems that even if Gao Zheng gets the ball, he can only face away from the goal, and his only option is to pass the ball back to his teammate who is making a forward run. His teammates were indeed moving into the penalty area and into the middle, where Gao Zheng had been. Now that he had pulled Yan Qing out, a small opening had appeared there, which presented an opportunity. However, Gao Zheng did not pass the ball back. He ran to his position, stopped to shield Yan Qing behind him, and then slid his right foot down to meet the rolling ball with a sliding tackle. The ball bounced off the back of his shoe. Gao Zheng then used his left foot to support his body, lifted his right foot, and with a flick of his ankle, suddenly flicked the ball, which he had just lobbed into the air, behind him. The football wasn't lobbed very high, Gao Zheng leaned back while lobbing the ball, so it barely grazed his face. However, this move places high demands on Gao Zheng's core strength and the support of his left foot, especially since he will immediately turn around afterward, putting all his weight on his left ankle. Gao Zheng wanted to test the limits of his left foot at this moment. After flicking the ball over his shoulder, he quickly twisted his waist and turned around. The movement was as smooth and natural as flowing water, without any hindrance. He had already completed the turn. "Great shot," someone in the stands cheered loudly again. Gao Zheng's lobbed ball and turn were executed flawlessly. By the time Yan Qing reacted, Gao Zheng had already moved behind him, ball and all, pushing him back behind him once again. The Xinglong team's goalkeeper rushed out to intercept the ball. Gao Zheng didn't lob the ball that high to avoid wasting too much time in the air, so he could shoot immediately after turning around and catching up with it. But instead of unleashing a powerful shot, he lifted his foot and gently tapped the falling ball. The ball flew straight towards the goalkeeper's head. Although he jumped up and spread his arms to try and intercept, at such close range and with such a sudden shot, his reaction time was simply not fast enough. The ball went over him and into the goal behind him. From the moment Gao Zheng flicked the ball, cheers erupted from the sidelines, and then the cheers were like waves, one after another, each wave higher than the last. When the football flew into the goal, the cheers in the stadium were as if there were thousands of people watching the game, a far cry from the atmosphere created by just a few hundred people. The players on both sides of the field, as well as those on the sidelines, were all taken aback by the commotion. Some of them turned around and looked back at the stands, which were filled with cheering students, both boys and girls. Mr. Dong, a fan, was somewhat moved and shook his head, saying, "He was a born star, what a pity, what a pity. It's truly a pity that someone like him is playing an amateur match against them on such a small field, and his talent can only be seen by such a small group of people present, without live television coverage or a larger stage." Beside him, Director Zhao stared blankly at Gao Zheng on the court. He was sure he wasn't seeing things. Today's brother Zheng was different from the brother Zheng of the past. Yan Qing stood blankly in front of the goal, staring at the football inside. He never expected that he would be defeated in such a way. He never imagined Gao Zheng would play like that. Yan Qing's professional career was not exactly successful, but he had played for many teams and seen all kinds of professional players. However, he had never seen anyone with such high talent as Gao Zheng. He had heard of Gao Zheng's name from the media and knew that Gao Zheng had been released by AC Milan and subsequently disappeared. He never expected to meet Gao Zheng in this kind of situation. Before the match, after learning Gao Zheng's identity, he was thinking of competing with this person who could play in AC Milan's youth academy to see just how good he really was. Now he knows the answer. Chapter 9. I've made up my mind. Although he scored a very beautiful goal, Gao Zheng was not as excited as the others, making it seem as if the goal had nothing to do with him. Everyone was cheering for him, but he put his hands on his hips, lowered his head, and slowly walked back. He was examining his left ankle. This is his biggest worry. It was right here that he was tackled and disfigured during a match, resulting in a serious injury that kept him out of action for 13 months before he could return to the field. Even after he returned to the court, he suffered several injuries, most of which were related to this place. It was for this reason that the Milan laboratory concluded that his feet were no longer suitable for the intense, high-contact professional football. He returned to the old man's place to rest for almost a year, and during that year, whether in his daily training or playing in amateur matches like these, his left ankle never flared up again. He had previously thought that the intensity of those amateur matches was too low to push his ankle to its limit. So when Gao Zheng heard that his opponent was very strong, he specially warmed up very seriously and deliberately provoked his opponent, wanting to challenge his limits. That ball really put his left ankle to the test. The result was, his left ankle seemed to have withstood the test, not failing at the most crucial moment, and he didn't feel anything was wrong now. This put him at ease a little. Gao Zheng was looking down at the changes in his ankle. To those who didn't know the inside story, Gao Zheng appeared calm. Those who liked him thought he was dashing, but those who disliked him thought he was arrogant and pretentious. Fu Jian glared at Gao Zheng with a very unfriendly look. Listen to the cheers from the sidelines. Gao Zheng has become the protagonist of this game. Victory or defeat is not the most important thing. Everyone just wants to see Gao Zheng perform. And what about myself? I became his background figure. That bastard, he's already been released by AC Milan, why is he still making such a fuss? Why is he still the most popular one in this rundown place? Amid cheers, Fu Jian buried his head deeply, his fists clenched tightly. When the game restarted, Yan Qing continued to defend against Gao Zheng, but he could no longer stop him. Gao Zheng was like a wild horse, running rampant on the field and playing however he wanted. Despite Gao Zheng's impressive height, the ball seemed glued to his feet. It was difficult for others to steal the ball from him. He dribbled the ball through the defenders, giving the impression of a rock flying among flowers without touching any of them. This bizarre scene unfolded before everyone's eyes. The stands were already packed with college students who had rushed over after hearing the news, and they generously gave Gao Zheng their cheers and applause. Although he had heard of Gao Zheng's reputation before, Boss Dong was still surprised when he saw Gao Zheng's performance on the sidelines. This level is not even considered by AC Milan. I think those professional stars are no better than this. Director Zhao overheard Boss Dong's remark but remained silent. He really wanted to tell the boss that AC Milan wasn't after Zheng Ji's skill, but rather his foot. If it weren't for that serious injury, how could Zheng be playing here now? And how could you possibly buy him to play a game for you for only 10,000 yuan? The cheers of the college students reached Director Zhao's ears one after another, but he felt sorry for Gao Zheng. What was the point of all the skills he had learned in the AC Milan youth training camp if he could only show his football talent in front of a few hundred people and could only deal with such a defeated opponent? A piercing whistle interrupted Director Zhao's reverie. When he looked up, he saw Gao Zheng clutching his foot and falling to the ground, while Huang Mao Fu Jian lay beside him. Zhao Ju's heart stopped for a second, then he jumped up and roared, "You bastard Fu, you want to die." The Hongguang team members on the field also rushed over to cause trouble for Fu Jian. The Xinglong team quickly sent people to protect their players. Conflict was on the verge of breaking out. It was Xinglong team captain Yan Qing who rushed between the two teams, raised his arms and shouted, "Don't be impulsive. Check the injuries first." Director Zhao rushed to Gao Zheng's side and knelt down in front of him, asking, "Where did you run into?" "Left foot." "Damn it." Director Zhao was about to get up and cause trouble for Fu Jian. "It's all right, Lao Zhao." But Gao Zheng stopped him. "Don't move, brother Zheng, I'm going to beat that bitch up." Director Zhao tried to break free from Gao Zheng's grasp. "It's really nothing, Lao Zhao," Gao Zheng said, turning over and getting up from the ground. "Ha!" Director Zhao looked up at Gao Zheng, who had already stood up. "Are you really alright? Why would I defend that idiot?" Gao Zheng flexed his left ankle. "It hurt a bit when I first hit it, but it's fine now. Old Zhao, it looks like my left ankle withstood the test." A smile appeared on his face. Seeing Gao Zheng smile, Director Zhao breathed a sigh of relief and turned his gaze to Fu Jian. The kid was being grabbed by the collar by Yan Qing. "What the hell do you want to do?" "Brother Qing, I didn't mean to." Fu Jian explained with a grin. "You almost ruined him." "Brother Qing, what are you saying? Does he need me to ruin him?" Fu Jian spread his hands. Yan Qing stared at him with icy eyes. "Let me tell you, this is their territory. If you keep causing trouble, I won't care when they deal with you." Fu Jian's playful expression froze. Then he saw the red light team players with unfriendly expressions, as well as the college students who had rushed to the sidelines. They all looked like they wanted to tear him apart. Fu Jian chickened out and lowered his head without saying a word. Although the referee gave him a yellow card, Yan Qing patted him on the shoulder and said, "Go off the field by yourself, don't stay on the field." Fu Jian gritted his teeth and finally walked off the court with his head down. On the sidelines, the college students made way for him, but they all stared at him with very unfriendly eyes. Knowing he had angered everyone, Fu Jian didn't dare utter a sound and just ran away. As he ran, he didn't even dare to glance at Gao Zheng, fearing that the students would interpret it as a provocation. Fu Jian felt so humiliated for the first time, yet he was completely powerless to do anything about it. On the other side, Boss Dong also decided to substitute Gao Zheng. The current score was enough for them to win the game, and besides, the result was no longer the most important thing. Gao Zheng's health and safety were what mattered. "Let's go to the hospital for an X-ray and checkup, shall we?" Mr. Dong was very worried. Gao Zheng smiled and shook his head. "It's nothing, Boss Dong, I just dodged it." "Are you sure you don't need to go to the hospital?" "Really, no need. If there's nothing else for Boss Dong, I'd like to go back. You can give the money to Lao Zhao. Don't worry about the money. I'll have my driver take you." Boss Dong was very attentive. But Gao Zheng shook his head and politely declined Mr. Dong's offer. "I can just take a taxi myself." Director Zhao quickly said, "No, I'll take you back." At this point, he didn't really care whether he took the money or not. Boss Dong shook Gao Zheng's hand, saying, "I'll transfer the money directly to Xiao Zhao's account later, don't worry. Go back and get some rest. Thank you so much this time, you've really opened my eyes. I'm a longtime football fan who's watched football for decades, and your skills are top-notch even in our country, I dare say that. It's a pity." He sighed. Gao Zheng knew why Boss Dong sighed, and he smiled and said, "There's nothing to regret. Everyone has their own destiny." But to everyone's surprise, Boss Dong shook his head vigorously. "I don't believe in that. I used to be a bricklayer on construction sites. If I had accepted my fate, I would have been a bricklayer my whole life. I have achieved everything I have today through my own hard work. So, Xiao Gao, I'm older than you, so you don't mind if I call you Xiao Gao, do you?" Gao Zheng quickly shook his head. I don't mind, I don't mind." "So, Xiao Gao, don't keep talking about fate at such a young age. Fate is usually just an excuse that losers make for themselves. Bad luck, ha. Okay, I won't hold you back anymore. Don't worry about the money. I, Old Dong, have been in business for so many years, and everyone knows I'm the most trustworthy person." "I believe it, I believe it. Boss Dong looks like a very generous person." Gao Zheng gave a thumbs up, offering a light compliment. He didn't feel embarrassed at all about flattering his benefactor, he'd gotten used to it over the past year. Amid Boss Dong's hearty laughter, Gao Zheng and Director Zhao bid him farewell and left the bustling university football field in their Iraqi-colored car. Unlike his previous lively conversation with Boss Dong, Gao Zheng fell silent after getting into the car. Even Director Zhao, who was driving, was a little puzzled. "What's wrong, Brother Zheng? Is there still a problem with your left foot?" Gao Zheng shook his head. "No. This is the amateur competition runner-up team you were talking about. I don't think they're that good." "Hey, that's because you're amazing, Zheng. But your performance today was a bit strange. What's strange? Gao Zheng turned to look at Director Zhao and asked. You seem more engaged and more energetic than in the previous competitions. Director Zhao stated his observation. You got it right. Gao Zheng snapped his fingers. I do need to be more focused. Why? Because I said this opponent is stronger. I want to see if facing a stronger opponent can make the match more interesting. And the answer? Boring. Gao Zheng stretched in the passenger seat. This game is boring, and the games we've played before were boring too. Old Zhao, I don't really want to play this kind of football anymore. Director Zhao laughed. You shouldn't have played this kind of football in the first place. Have you made up your mind? Yes, it's decided. Tomorrow I'll kneel down in front of the old man, weep and plead, Coach, I want to play professional football. Chapter 10 Letters from Italy. When Yang Wenlong arrived at the training class in the morning, Gao Zheng had just finished his daily morning exercise. Here, breakfast. Yang Wenlong handed the plastic bag he was carrying to Gao Zheng. Gao Zheng untied the plastic bag and started eating. How did yesterday's match go? Yang Wenlong asked seemingly casually. I earned 10,000, and I took 5,000, Gao Zheng said somewhat indistinctly, chewing his food. TSK. No wonder you don't want to play anymore, making money this way is so easy, the old man sneered. Old man, even if I wanted to play, what connections or methods do I have? Gao Zheng spread his hands. Professional football, it's not as easy as just wanting to play. Enough with the nonsense. Yang Wenlong's eyes widened. If you want to play, I'll find you a way. You said it yourself. What did I say? Why are you being so nagging? Then I'll kick it. Ha. Yang Wenlong didn't react at first. I told you I want to play professional football, old man, I want to play. Didn't you say you'd help me find a way? You little rascal, you've got to be waiting for me here. But Yang Wenlong wasn't angry at all. Have you thought this through? Or is this just a spur-of-the-moment decision? Yes, I've made up my mind. I still want to try my hand at professional football. Looking at his once most prized disciple, Yang Wenlong's face gradually broke into a smile. All right, I'll help you find a way. Just wait for good news. Gao Zheng initially thought the old man had found him a connection within China, since there were leagues like the China League One and the Chinese Super League if one wanted to play professional football. However, a week later, he received some rather explosive good news. Zheng, can you help me see what this email says? Yang Wenlong called Gao Zheng into his office and showed him an open email on his computer. This was an email written in Italian, and indeed only Gao Zheng could understand it. Sassuolo Football Club of Italy. Gao Zheng only read the beginning before turning to look at the old man in surprise. I have a friend who runs a tile business here. He has business dealings with Sassuolo, and through his connections, he got you in touch with the Sassuolo club. They sent me an email, but I can't understand it, so I asked you to help me translate it. Yang Wenlong pointed to the computer screen. Quick, keep translating. Gao Zheng turned his attention back to the email. The email was short and its message was simple. Sassuolo was willing to offer him a week-long trial, and if he performed well, he would have the opportunity to sign a contract. But we have to pay for our own airfare and accommodation. Gao Zheng frowned as he said this. He knew his own pocket best, he had no savings at all. The money he earned from each match was quickly spent. Compared to his outstanding talent in football, he really had no ability in financial management. After splitting the 10,000 yuan he earned from the last match with Director Zhao, he was left with only 5,000 yuan. During this time, the old man had devised a special training plan for him, instructing him to train hard and recover his physical condition. He was also forbidden from competing again, leaving him without any income and reliant on that 5,000 yuan. Besides that, where would he find the extra money to go to Italy? You don't need to worry about the money. Yang Wenlong waved his hand and said happily, that means as long as you perform well in the trial, you can sign a professional contract with them. But Gao Zheng was still concerned about the money. Why shouldn't we consider it? Airfare and accommodation for a week isn't a small amount. The old man was very impatient. I told you not to worry about it, so don't worry about it. Anyway, there will definitely be money for you to go to Italy. Maybe I should go play a few games. Before Gao Zheng could finish speaking, Yang Wenlong interrupted him with a rebuke. You dare. What if you get injured? Don't worry about the money, just focus on training during this time. Give me your passport, and I'll have my friend get you a visa. Seeing that the old man was really angry, Gao Zheng shrank back and dared not speak. Having received a clear reply from Italy, Yang Wenlong was overjoyed. He shut down his computer, put his hands behind his back, and strolled out of the office. As he left, Gao Zheng could still hear him humming a tune. This kind of scene rarely happens to old men. 2 weeks later, Gao Zheng's visa to Italy was processed, and the countdown to his departure for Italy had begun. He called his parents and told them that he wasn't going back to university and was going to Italy to pursue his dream of playing professional football. As a result, he got scolded by his mother. Don't you want your feet anymore? My foot is fine, Mom. I've rested for a year, what could possibly be wrong? You think you're fine just because you say so. Didn't the authorities tell you to stop playing football? Do you really want to spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair? Hearing his mother's scolding, Gao Zheng felt helpless. This was why he preferred to live in the old man's makeshift house and earn a living by playing amateur football rather than go home and ask his parents for a single penny. All right. Gao Zheng's father persuaded his wife to leave, and then he spoke to Gao Zheng instead. Your mom is worried about you too. I know, Dad. She had already arranged connections for you here, hoping you could go back to school, but... Dad, I'm really not cut out for studying, otherwise I wouldn't have chosen to play football in the first place. I've played football for so many years, what could I possibly learn if I went back to school? As long as you can get a diploma, we'll help you find connections. Gao Zheng interrupted his father. You always say you'll help me, but I can't rely on you forever, Dad. I love playing football, and that's all I know how to do. I want to try my luck in football and see if I can succeed. Otherwise all my hard work over the past 10 years will have been for nothing. Dad fell silent for a long time before sighing. Actually, your mother doesn't want you to excel in football, she just wants you to be safe and healthy. I know, Dad, I will be careful. I don't want to come back in a wheelchair. They say a son is no longer under his mother's control once he grows up. If you've thought it through, then go ahead and do it. Don't worry about things at home, we're doing just fine. Before hanging up the phone, Dad sighed. I really don't know if letting you play football was a good thing or a bad thing. Gao Zheng didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Football brought him fame and joy, but it also brought him injuries and pain. Perhaps just like football always has black and white sides, everything has its good and bad sides. You can't just enjoy the benefits without being willing to bear the consequences. Chapter 11 Old Zhao. In a typical Sichuan restaurant found on every street corner, several plates of home-style dishes sat on a greasy table. One side of the table was piled high with empty beer bottles, while the other side held several freshly opened ones. Gao Zheng and Director Zhao sat facing each other, each with a glass of beer in front of them. Gao Zheng's glass was about 2/3 full, while Director Zhao had already refilled his own. I knew you wouldn't give up your career dream, Brother Zheng. Ha! Director Zhao was clearly a bit drunk, and his voice was much louder than usual. Gao Zheng remained clear-headed. It just means we can't play football and make money together anymore. Director Zhao quickly waved his hand, making exaggerated gestures. Hey! What are you talking about? No way, no way. Logically speaking, you could have given me not a single penny of that money, but you always gave me half. I only need to make a few phone calls to get half the money. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. I know you're not well off yourself, Brother Zheng, I know you're helping this cripple like me. Old Zhao. Gao Zheng tried to interrupt Director Zhao. But how could Director Zhao, who was drunk, be easily interrupted? At this moment, he seemed to have a lot to say to Gao Zheng, perhaps because he knew that from now on, he and Brother Zheng would embark on completely different paths in life, and they might never see each other again. So if he didn't say those words now, he would never have the chance to say them again. Don't interrupt me, Zheng. I know I'm a cripple, and my knee hurts when it rains. Director Zhao patted his right knee forcefully. There's nothing to deny about that. I don't think being a cripple is shameful, it's just a bit troublesome to find a job. So, Zheng, you're helping me. Helping you arrange a match earns more than I do in 3 days. I don't have many friends, Zheng, you're genuinely good to me, I know that, I understand. Old Zhao, you've had too much to drink. I know, of course I'm drunk. How the hell would I dare say these things if I wasn't drunk? Director Zhao laughed, shaking his head. I know you don't want me to think you're pitying me, I know you're protecting my pride, and I'm really grateful to you. But actually, I've never wanted you to keep playing those matches just to take care of me, really. You shouldn't be playing that kind of football, professional football, Europe is where you belong. So I'm really happy for you now, really. You're the most talented player among our group of players. Coach Yang praises you every day. I remember when you first came, we all thought you were Coach Yang's son. Otherwise, why would you enjoy so many privileges? Later we found out, Brother Zheng, you're really awesome. Everyone is convinced. Director Zhao gave Gao Zheng a thumbs up. You're not bad either, Lao Zhao. Me? Ha! I'm nowhere near as good as you. If you hadn't been injured, you could have played professional football too. Zhao was injured in the youth team of Desheng Club, but in order not to lose his starting position, he did not seek treatment in time and continued to train and play with the injury. In the end, the injury became more and more serious, resulting in irreversible damage. Now, he can not only not continue to play football, but he can also walk with a limp. Hearing Gao Zheng's words, Director Zhao gave a bitter smile, I know my own abilities. Even if I hadn't gotten injured and joined a professional team, I probably wouldn't have made it. I might end up like Yan Qing, retiring in my 20s. Actually, Brother Zheng, sometimes I regret choosing football. You know, I spent so much time learning football, and what have I learned? What does what I'm doing now have to do with football? Absolutely nothing. Driving around hauling goods. My parents didn't name me that hoping I'd play football. Why the hell did I even bother learning football? I clearly don't have any talent for it. Listening to Director Zhao's grumbling, Gao Zheng didn't know what to say. Actually, Lao Zhao is a victim of football. He didn't benefit from it at all, and the skills he learned couldn't help him find a job and support himself after leaving the football field. It's fair to say that learning football was a huge waste of his time. If he had gone to school or learned a practical skill, would his life have been completely different? We often say that Chinese football lacks talent and has a weak grassroots foundation. But professional football is the pinnacle of the sport, and every professional player has countless others who fail or are eliminated at their feet. People only focus on the winners, but they are not interested in the fate of the losers. Yet, the losers are also living, breathing people, they also need to eat, find wives, and start families. Who will take responsibility for the more than 10 years of their wasted youth they have? Some people in the football circle questioned how many Chinese parents would be willing to send their children to play football, but why not ask why parents are unwilling to send their children to play football? If they gamble their children's future on learning football and succeed, that's fine, but what about the vast majority who don't? Which parent wants their child to be a stepping stone or a denominator for those who succeed? Gao Zheng couldn't articulate any grand principles, but looking at old Zhao, who was drunk and expressing his disgust and regret for football, he still felt that perhaps there was a problem somewhere in our football talent development. Director Zhao drank an unknown amount of alcohol, but by the end he was practically a drunken mess. He said many things that he would never normally say, and showed a side of himself that Gao Zheng would never normally see. Gao Zheng paid for the meal and helped him walk to hail a taxi. Old Zhao had drunk so much, he definitely couldn't take the bus. But just as he reached the roadside, Director Zhao suddenly retched, then bent over and vomited everything in his stomach. Gao Zheng quickly patted his back, and Director Zhao vomited repeatedly. Finally, after he finished vomiting, he wiped his mouth with his hand and then wiped it on his clothes. Are you feeling better, Lao Zhao? Feeling better. Sit down and rest for a bit. Gao Zheng helped him up, and the two of them sat down together on the curb. The evening breeze was blowing, and although we were in the south, the December wind still made us feel chilly. Brother Zheng, actually I'm a little jealous of you. Gao Zheng glanced at Director Zhao sitting next to him with some surprise. Zhao was lying on his lap with his head buried between his hands. If only I had your talent. I don't want to drive a delivery truck, I don't want to live like this. I still want to play football, I still want to be a professional player, earn more, live a more glamorous life. I won't have to worry about money or women. I still love football. I don't want to be a cripple. Director Zhao spoke incoherently, his voice changing as he spoke, until he finally choked up. Gao Zheng watched as his shoulders shrugged. Old Zhao cried. But Gao Zheng didn't know how to comfort him. It was easy to say some inspirational words to motivate him, but it wouldn't help Lao Zhao, who was in trouble at all. After Gao Zheng was released by AC Milan, he thought that fate had been unfair to him. However, after returning to China and meeting Lao Zhao, he realized that he was already very lucky. Fate was even more cruel and merciless towards Lao Zhao. It said that happiness is relative, but he didn't want to compare his happiness with that of Lao Zhao. Unable to say anything, Gao Zheng could only hug Lao Zhao's trembling body tightly, offering him a little warmth on this cold winter night. Cars sped past one after another on the road in front of them, their whirring sounds incessant. Beyond the highway lay a bustling commercial district, neon signs adorning the city's night sky with vibrant colors. A giant Christmas tree stood before the largest building in the complex, draped with countless colorful lights. People entered the vibrant area in droves, then emerged carrying bags and bags of purchases, their faces beaming with satisfaction. They paused before the giant Christmas tree to admire it, the colorful lights reflecting on their smiling faces as they captured the dazzling night scene on their phones. This is just one corner of a provincial capital city in southern China. In this vast city, there are countless other places as bustling as this. In different places, there are similar crowds and noise. But the city's prosperity had nothing to do with these two young people sitting together on the side of the road. Chapter 12 Goodbye Old Man. On the morning Gao Zheng left, Director Zhao came to the training course to see him off. Gao Zheng could no longer see any signs of being drunk that night on Director Zhao's face. He wondered if Director Zhao still remembered the things he had said when he was drunk that day. Zhengji, good luck over there. I'm looking forward to seeing news about you on TV. Fine, if I don't make it big, I won't come back. Gao Zheng struck a tough pose. I'll be stuck on the streets of Italy, making a living by performing. Go away, go away. Yang Wenlong waved his hand from the side, what are you saying? He then turned to the slightly overweight middle-aged man standing next to him and said, Old Gua, you see? That's just how this kid is. You've had a hard time in Italy. If he does anything wrong, please forgive him. The middle-aged man, Guo Wei, waved his hand with a smile, don't mention it, you're too kind, Lao Yang. Then he carefully observed Gao Zheng, who was saying goodbye to his friend. This was the first time he had met this legendary prodigy. To be honest, he was quite different from what he had imagined. In his imagination, a genius should first and foremost have a different personality from ordinary people, they should be rather arrogant and difficult to get along with. Secondly, after experiencing those setbacks and blows, they might be rather pessimistic and gloomy. In short, they should exude an aura of, keep away. But what appeared before him now was a big boy chatting and laughing with his friends, who didn't seem to be taking things seriously at all. Old Yang, your prized disciple is indeed extraordinary. Yang Wenlong chuckled, Gao Zheng would always be someone he could be proud of. Seeing that Gao Zheng and Director Zhao had finished their conversation, he beckoned Gao Zheng over, saying he had something to say to him privately. Your left foot is okay now that you've been training harder lately, he asked. Gao Zheng shook his head, if you hadn't mentioned it, I would have almost forgotten where I was injured. But no matter what, your left foot has a problem, so when you go to Italy this time, you need to be smarter. Avoid unnecessary risks and don't be a reckless player. Learn to use your head when you play football. Yang Wenlong pointed at Gao Zheng's head. You're a striker, your job isn't to fight the opponents physically, just to get the ball into the goal. Gao Zheng nodded. He knew the old man was giving him his final instructions. He listened attentively, and the frivolous expression on his face disappeared. Also, if you sign a contract, do more basic training to improve your physical fitness and strength. After all, you missed a year of classes. Professional matches are completely different from the casual games you play every week. I know, don't worry, old man. Yang Wenlong seemed to want to say something more, but it seemed he had already said everything he needed to say, so he opened his mouth, but in the end he just sighed. Gao Zheng was surprised to see the old man like this and said, "Old man, are you serious? I'm just going to Italy for a trial, not to be part of a suicide squad. Don't make it sound like we're going to die. Don't worry, even if I don't make it, I will never perform in Italy. I will come back to you and work for you. This time, I want you to pay me a salary, haha." Yang Longwen was furious upon hearing this and kicked Gao Zheng, yelling, "Get out! Who wants you back?" Gao Zheng could have dodged it, but he deliberately slowed down a bit, and the old man kicked him squarely in the butt. "Ouch, old man, you really kicked me. Whenever I beat you up, did you ever see me faking it?" Yang Wenlong rolled up his sleeves. Gao Zheng nimbly ran away this time, and he even hid behind Guo Wei, using Coach Yang's friend as a shield, which startled Guo Wei. But his trick worked. Yang Wenlong didn't dare to come up when he saw it. He just pointed at him and cursed, "Come out. What kind of behavior is this in front of others? Do you think I'm stupid, old man? Come out and let you beat me up." Gao Zheng hid behind Guo Wei, trying his best to shrink himself down so that he wouldn't appear much taller than Guo Wei, which looked rather comical. This. Guo Wei was not used to the master-disciple relationship between Gao Zheng and Yang Wenlong, and didn't know what to say. Gao Zheng, hiding behind him, said, "Uncle Guo, let's go, we're going to miss our flight." Guo Wei really hadn't expected the master and apprentice to part ways like this. He was still asking, just like that, "You're gone." Yang Wenlong waved his hand angrily, "Go, go, go. I can't stand looking at you. You saw that, Uncle Guo? Let's hurry up and go," Gao Zheng said, pulling Guo Wei outside. "Otherwise, the old man will be so angry he won't be able to eat lunch." Guo Wei couldn't refuse Gao Zheng, so he had no choice but to leave. He waved to Yang Wenlong, saying, "Goodbye then, Lao Yang. Don't worry, I'll." "Alright, let's go." Before he could finish speaking, Coach Yang turned and walked into his office, slamming the door shut behind him. Gao Zheng seemed completely unconcerned, waving goodbye to Director Zhao who was standing to the side. "Goodbye, Lao Zhao. I'll come see you again when I'm successful, and I'll take you flying." "Goodbye, Brother Zheng, don't worry." Director Zhao replied with a statement that sounded nonsensical to Guo Wei. Sitting in the car, Guo Wei told the driver to start the engine, then turned to Gao Zheng in the back seat and said, "What's going on between you and Lao Yang?" A proper farewell turned into this. Gao Zheng smiled but did not answer him. Seeing this, Guo Wei hesitated for a moment, but still said, "Coach Yang really cares about you. Actually, there's something that Lao Yang has been telling me not to tell you. He paid for your travel and accommodation expenses for this trial in Sassuolo out of his own pocket. He used his own money. Is it your own private savings?" Gao Zheng suddenly asked. "Huh?" Guo Wei didn't react. Gao Zheng continued, "I know Aunt Wang is very strict with the old man, so it must not be easy for him to save up any money on the side. This old man." At this point, Gao Zheng paused for a moment, then said to Guo Wei, "This old man has brought a lot of people out here, but he can only run a training class in this rundown place with little business. I asked him why he doesn't go and become a coach for a professional team. It would be much more comfortable and profitable than running a training class here. Guess what he said, Uncle Guo?" Guo Wei shook his head. "He said he just likes interacting with kids. But to this day, hardly anyone has heard of him. What coach without a reputation would want to send their child to him to teach? So Uncle Guo, I'm definitely going to succeed. When that happens, I'll let the whole world know that the old man is my coach." Guo Wei stared blankly at Gao Zheng, forgetting to turn his body back. Yang Wenlong sat alone in the office for a while before coming out. To his surprise, he saw Director Zhao standing outside the office as soon as he came out. "What, are you being punished by standing in the corner?" He glared at Director Zhao. "Coach Yang, I'm leaving now, but I'll come to see you again. If you need anything, just give me a call, and I'll definitely come. Even though Brother Zheng isn't here anymore, I'm still your apprentice. Although I'm not as successful as Brother Zheng, I'll definitely come whenever you call." After saying this, Director Zhao bowed 90 degrees to Coach Yang, then turned and walked away decisively. Yang Wenlong reached out his hand, wanting to call out to him, but even with his mouth open, no sound came out. He stood there by the dappled shadows of the trees on the field, watching Director Zhao's figure disappear outside the gate. The wind blew, rustling the leaves in his white hair, and also scattering his sighs in the wind. Chapter 13 is a bit unfamiliar. When Lin Cece brought her younger brother to learn to play football again, she found that the tall and handsome figure was no longer in the training class. Just as she was looking around frantically, Coach Yang's voice rang out behind her, "He's gone." Huh? Lin Cece looked at Coach Yang in surprise. "You left? Did you go home?" "No, I went to play football." Lin Cece paused for a moment, seemingly wondering if this, going to play football, meant an ordinary amateur match or something more. "He probably won't come back," Coach Yang said, looking at the girl's dazed expression, before turning and walking towards the football field, ignoring her completely. Lin Cece stood there blankly, like a statue. Lin Yuan glanced at his sister and saw her sitting motionless on the sidelines. Although they were far apart, Lin Yuan could tell that his sister was lost in thought. This was the first time Lin Yuan had ever seen his sister looking so lost and disoriented. "Lin Yuan. What are you doing, getting distracted during training? If you don't want to train anymore, go and rest." Coach Yang's reprimand quickly brought Lin Yuan's attention back. After scolding Lin Yuan, Yang Wenlong turned his gaze to the girl and gently shook his head. "That brat." After training, Lin Yuan packed his things and went home with his sister. On the way home, his sister didn't say a word and seemed to have lost her spirit. Lin Yuan knew it was because his sister hadn't seen Coach Gao. In fact, during training, he heard his teammates say that Coach Gao wouldn't be here anymore, but he didn't know where Coach Gao had gone. So the sister's condition is probably related to never seeing Coach Gao again, but he still finds it strange. "What's so great about Coach Gao?" Lin Yuan pouted. "What do kids know?" Lin Cece snorted. "How could I not understand? I know you like Coach Gao, right?" Lin Cece glanced at her younger brother but didn't say anything. "I don't see anything good about Coach Gao. He's always slacking off. I heard that Coach Yang took him in, but he still often makes Coach Yang angry. What's so great about someone like that?" Looking at her younger brother's sullen face, Lin Cece suddenly asked, "Don't you think Coach Gao likes to laugh a lot?" Lin Yuan hadn't expected his sister to ask this question so suddenly. He thought about it seriously for a moment, then nodded, "Indeed, I always see him smiling. I don't know where he gets so many happy things in a day. Have you noticed that every time Coach Gao smiles, there's a hint of melancholy in his smile?" Lin Yuan stared at his sister in disbelief. "She's clearly smiling, where did this melancholy come from?" The older sister tapped her younger brother on the head. "So what do kids know?" Lin Yuan protested, holding his head in his hands. "How could I not understand? Laughter means happiness, and aren't happiness and melancholy antonyms? I'm in 5th grade, I know what I'm doing." Lin Cece reached out and patted his head. "You'll understand when you grow up." Lin Yuan pouted, feeling very unconvinced. He was already 11 years old and could understand many things. How much older did he have to be before he could understand? But he could tell that his sister wasn't in a good mood today, and he was afraid of being hit on the head by her again, so he forced himself to keep quiet. Lin Cece suddenly stopped and looked back in the direction of the training center, which was the direction of the sunset, in the west. Her gaze didn't land on the training center's entrance. Instead, she skipped ahead, looking towards something much farther away. In that place, so far beyond her reach, was he striving for his dream? Gao Zheng shaded his eyes with his hand, but even so he still had to squint, otherwise the sunlight reflected off the field would still be dazzling enough. On a winter morning in Italy, the sun was so strong that it turned the yellowish grass white. He felt a little dizzy, unsure whether it was from the glaring sunlight or jet lag. He and Uncle Gua had only arrived in Milan the previous afternoon, and then Uncle Gua had rented a car, and they drove straight to Medina. Because Sassuolo is a small town with not many hotels, they stayed in Medina, which is more than 20 kilometers away from Sassuolo. It was already late at night when we finally checked into the hotel. He should be sleeping, but because of the damn jet lag, Gao Zheng was not sleepy at all and couldn't fall asleep even if he wanted to. He tossed and turned until morning. Since the first match of the trial was scheduled for the morning, he and Uncle Gua got up early, took a shower, had a simple breakfast, and then drove to Sassuolo. After all that commotion, he finally stood on the grass of Enzo Ricci Stadium, Sassuolo's training ground. However, his mental and physical condition was far from good. Why does the long visa application process leave you with absolutely no time to prepare? Of course, he didn't have much money, so he had to be careful with his budget. He could save more money by staying in a hotel one less day. He simply couldn't afford to be extravagant enough to come to Sassuolo to prepare for the match well in advance. This situation can only be caused by a combination of factors. Gao Zheng had no way to complain about all of this. He told Sassuolo about his difficulties, but would the club agree to postpone his trial for a few days? Moreover, he wasn't the only one participating in this trial. Gao Zheng looked around and saw that there were two other people besides him who were also here for the trial. There was a tall, strong-looking black man, a short, white man, and him, making a total of 3 people participating in this tryout. "Alright, lads. Let's play a match first and see how you perform," a coach-like man said, standing in front of them. "Of course, it's okay if you don't do well. This is just a simple test, and your fate won't be decided based on this one match. Next, you'll have a week of trials with the team, followed by one more match. Your performance throughout the entire trial period will determine whether you stay here. Good luck." After saying that, he left the stadium. Gao Zheng glanced at his teammates again. The two who had come for the trial with him were a defender, standing inside the defensive line, and a winger, standing on the wing. He, of course, was still a center forward, standing outside the center circle, waiting for the opposing reserve team starters to kick off. Most of the players in the reserve team are around the same age as Gao Zheng. He came to try out for this team, not Sassuolo's first team. Even if he passes the trial and signs with the team, he will have to train and play in the reserve team first before he can possibly join the first team. With a whistle, the game began. Although this wasn't a game that would determine their fate, the participants in the trial still worked very hard. After all, if they performed well, they could leave a good impression on the coaches watching from the sidelines, and first impressions are very important. Gao Zheng's performance at the beginning was not good. It was obvious that his body was not in its best condition. The first time he got the ball, he lost control due to interference from the opponent. Even a slight bump from the opponent made it difficult for him to maintain control of the ball. In amateur matches, he had faced all sorts of physical contact, but none compared to what happened today. This is a completely different world from the amateur matches he played in China. The intensity of the competition and the speed of the game are far greater than in China. Compared to that, amateur matches in China are like children playing house. Gao Zheng hadn't felt this way in a long time. It feels a bit unfamiliar. What did you say in chapter 14? A teammate passed a high ball. Gao Zheng, with his back to the direction of attack, shielded the defender behind him, then straightened his chest and gently controlled the ball, which hit his chest and fell downwards. Gao Zheng immediately followed up with his right foot and hooked the falling football backward. His movement was not very large, he mainly relied on the power of his ankle to complete the hook shot. The football flew over his shoulder. At the same time, he turned around while sticking close to the defender guarding him, about to slip past the defender. All he needs to do now is extend his foot to catch the falling ball again. However, he failed to complete the turn and dribble. Just as he was halfway through the turn, the defender leaned all his weight on him and pushed him hard with his shoulder, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. They naturally lost possession of the ball. The defender who knocked him down tucked his arms between his legs and gestured to the referee that his charge was legitimate. The referee did not call a foul. The defender immediately turned around, bent down, and yelled at Gao Zheng, "Stop with your amateurish skills in front of me. Don't try anything fancy. Otherwise, I'll take it as a provocation, kid." Whether you understand it or not, just by looking at his grimacing expression and the spittle flying out, you know it's definitely not something nice. Sassuolo's reserve team coach and youth academy director, Paro Mandley, shook his head on the sidelines. They're completely outmatched in physical duels. "I noticed on his resume that there was a year-long gap after he left AC Milan." "Nothing at all," said Luciano Collino, the first-team assistant coach standing next to him. "The former best U16 player, he's 19 now," Mandley remarked with some emotion. As a coach in charge of youth training, he certainly knew the Chinese prodigy who had once made a name for himself in AC Milan's youth academy, which was why Sassuolo was willing to give Gao Zheng a trial opportunity. But to be honest, Gao Zheng's performance after the start of the match disappointed Mandley. Although it's unclear why AC Milan gave up on him, it seems that every seemingly inexplicable decision must have an unknown reason behind it. If possible, AC Milan would not have wanted to let go of their talented young star so easily. Guo Wei was multitasking on the sidelines, observing Gao Zheng's performance on the court while watching the coach's reactions. He's a longtime football fan, but by longtime fan, I mean an older fan, not someone who's been watching football for many years. He watched football when he was younger, but gradually stopped, especially after starting his own business. His busy work schedule left him little time to rest, and his youthful passion for football was naturally put aside. Because he hadn't watched football for a long time, he didn't know much about the current state of football, but based on a fan's common sense, he could still tell that Gao Zheng's performance on the field wasn't very good. Seeing the coach shake his head confirmed his concerns. When he woke up this morning, he saw Gao Zheng with dark circles under his eyes, yawning constantly, and even eating breakfast with his eyes closed. He started to worry about the young man. How could he participate in the trial competition in this condition? As his worries gradually came true, Guo Wei grew anxious. He still remembered what Yang Wenlong said when he decided to cover all of Gao Zheng's expenses: that kid is really talented. He can't do anything but play football. If he doesn't continue playing football, he'll be ruined. Now there's this opportunity, a chance to make a career for just tens of thousands of yuan. If he loses this opportunity because of not having money, I'm afraid I'll regret it. Old Yang, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you. Guo Wei sighed inwardly. Stop showing off your amateurish skills in front of me. Don't try anything fancy. Otherwise, I'll take it as a provocation, kid. Gao Zheng, who had been knocked to the ground, heard what the dark and tough defensive player said to him. He recalled his last match in China, where his opponent was touted as the runner-up in a city-level amateur competition, and his defender was a former professional player who had played a season in the China League One. Compared to this tough, dark-skinned guy, that brother Qing is practically spineless. No wonder I found him boring back then. The difference. He laughed. He gave up a comfortable life in China and chose to come to Italy precisely for this kind of competition and challenge. If he can't even handle the level of competition at the reserve team level, how can he possibly achieve success? Just then, someone reached out to Gao Zheng. It wasn't the opponent who had knocked him down, but his teammate, also a striker. However, it wasn't the one who had come to try out with Gao Zheng, but a player who was already in Sassuolo's reserve team. His face still looked somewhat youthful, not like someone of Gao Zheng's age. Are you alright? Don't worry about it, that's just Mario's temper. Hey, Berardi, which team are you on? Mario's Konate, the tough, dark-skinned defensive player, retorted after hearing the baby-faced man's words. Berardi made a face at him. We're rivals now. He also tugged at the blue training vest he was wearing. He then went to help Gao Zheng up, but after he pulled Gao Zheng up, he realized that the other man was actually smiling. This surprised him. He had thought Gao Zheng would be very angry after hearing what Mario's Konate said. Thank you, Gao Zheng said in Italian, thanking his temporary teammate. Berardi was taken aback. You speak Italian? Weren't you speaking to me in Italian just now? Gao Zheng asked in surprise. Berardi finally realized, but it would be much better if the other person could communicate in Italian. I saw you laughing. Of course, can't I laugh? No. I just thought you'd be angry. What's there to be angry about? Gao Zheng waved his hand dismissively. I didn't expect you to have such a good temper. Berardi was somewhat impressed with the person who came for the trial. He might not know Konate, but as his teammate, he knew him very well. Mario's Konate always liked to trash talk and constantly provoke people on the field. Not everyone liked him. Gao Zheng smiled upon hearing the praise and said nothing more. Not long after the game resumed, Gao Zheng looked around and found the tough, dark-skinned player among the opposing players. He then slowly approached him and entered the tough, dark-skinned player's defensive zone. Then he raised his hand to ask for the ball. The ball was quickly passed over, and it was still a high ball. This time, however, Gao Zheng wasn't facing away from the direction of the attack. He moved to the side along the trajectory of the ball, seemingly trying to shake off the defender. Of course, Konate wouldn't let him have his way and quickly caught up. He figured that all he had to do was stick close and interfere a little, and the kid would have a hard time controlling the ball. Gao Zheng had no intention of stopping the ball at all. He simply lifted his right foot while running at high speed and gently flicked the flying ball away. The football flew right over Konate's head. The physically imposing Konate, facing Gao Zheng's concealed yet incredibly close-range lob, had no reaction whatsoever, his momentum carrying him forward. Gao Zheng, however, was prepared. He slowed down as he lobbed the ball, then changed direction and dodged, catching the ball inside the paint. Wow! This ball! Paro Mandley on the sideline stared wide-eyed. He never expected that Gao Zheng would get rid of the defense in such an effortless way. So beautiful. First-team assistant coach Colino couldn't help but clap his hands. To execute such a lobbed pass so effortlessly while running at high speed requires an extremely high level of ball control and feel. These are professional football coaches, they naturally understand how difficult that move was, and it was definitely not as easy as Gao Zheng made it appear. The two exchanged a glance, confirming that they both vaguely saw the shadow of that AC Milan prodigy. Because of the previous confrontation between Gao Zheng and Konate, none of the other Sassuolo reserve team players expected that Konate would be beaten by Gao Zheng when they saw him following him. Therefore, after Konate was pulled out by Gao Zheng, the spot where he was originally located became an empty space. Gao Zheng, who had easily gotten past Konate, dribbled towards that opening. Konate felt a surge of adrenaline rush to his head after being overtaken, and he recklessly chased after the figure. But before he could catch up, Gao Zheng had already swung his leg and completed the shot. The ball bounced off the ground near the corner after flying out, and the goalkeeper couldn't catch it in time. The ball went under his arm and into the goal. This is what Konate saw when he caught up with Gao Zheng. At the same time, a voice rang out beside him, "Excuse me, what did you just say?" Chapter 15 Truly a genius. After being beaten by the opponent in an almost acrobatic way, he scored a goal, and then he heard the opponent ask him what he had just said. This is 100% a provocation to Konate. Upon hearing this, he immediately turned around and reached out to grab Gao Zheng's neck. Gao Zheng didn't dodge, letting the other person's hand pinch him, while also spreading his hands to indicate that he was innocent. Berardi was still reeling from Gao Zheng's imaginative and skillful dribble. He was completely impressed. Everyone in the football world knows how difficult that move is. Berardi himself had never been particularly good with his feet, which made him admire technically gifted players even more. So when he saw Gao Zheng's exceptional skills, he couldn't help but open his mouth wide. Just then, he saw Konate reach for Gao Zheng's neck. He quickly stepped in and separated the two. Don't be impulsive, Marios. The referee also warned both sides of the conflict with a sharp whistle. The others were completely dumbfounded, they never expected a trial match to turn into such a heated contest. Mandley and Colino exchanged glances, both unsure of what to say. As the reserve team coach, Mandley knew exactly what kind of person Mario Konate was. He always used trash talk to provoke his opponents, causing them to lose their temper and fall into his trap. But he never expected that this kid would be so easily angered by Gao Zheng. That kid. They shook their heads and sighed, not knowing whether they were referring to Gao Zheng or Konate. Guo Wei was also caught off guard. He never expected that Gao Zheng would get into a conflict with someone in such an important trial competition. Based on his brief interaction with Gao Zheng, he didn't think Gao Zheng was the kind of person who liked to cause trouble. Now it seems that perhaps he didn't understand Gao Zheng enough. He frowned, worried that this would have a negative impact on Gao Zheng's entry into Sassuolo. Looking at Gao Zheng on the field, he had a faint smile on his face, seemingly unconcerned about the issue. Guo Wei became even more anxious. In his haste, he even forgot that Gao Zheng had just made a beautiful dribble and scored a goal. When the game restarted, Mario's Konate clearly went after Gao Zheng, increasing the intensity of his defense against him. Guo Wei, watching from the sidelines, shook his head. What could have been an easy task had become much more difficult because of this kid. What on earth is he thinking? Gao Zheng could feel the pressure from that dark and tough guy, which made him unable to think about anything else and could only devote himself to the game, especially in controlling the ball. For Gao Zheng, who had been away from this kind of arena for more than a year, this feeling did not frighten him. On the contrary, it excited him, making him feel as if he were dancing on a tightrope. He quickly pulled the football back from his feet, barely dodging the black and hard foot that came out, but then the black and hard foot swept over with his other foot. Gao Zheng had no choice but to perform a Marseille turn on the football to dodge his opponent. Marseille turn. Mandley exclaimed from the sidelines. Watching such a tall man perform the move so casually felt a bit incongruous, not that tall men couldn't do such moves, but it was rare to see one executed so beautifully. Although Gao Zheng was very tall, there wasn't a trace of disharmony in his movements. And even under Konate's fierce pressing, he could still perform it with such ease and grace. No wonder this kid stood out among AC Milan's many promising young stars. This trial match has become a one-man show for Gao Zheng. Everyone's attention is focused on him, ready to see what amazing performance he will deliver this time. The other two people who came to try out with Gao Zheng were completely relegated to supporting roles. Although Gao Zheng still showed his shortcomings in stamina and strength during the game, his ball control and technique were clearly superior to others. This was after a year-long hiatus. If he had been training and playing for AC Milan all this time, who knows what heights he could have reached now. In the end, Mandley had to admit that a genius is a genius. Then another question arose in my mind: why did AC Milan let such a talented player go? And why didn't he go to another team after leaving AC Milan, but instead disappeared for a year? Although the performance in the first trial match cannot determine the final fate of each player participating in the trial, Gao Zheng has already won the favor of the Sassuolo coaches with his outstanding performance. Watching from the sidelines, Guo Wei felt much more at ease. Although there were some setbacks at the beginning, it seems the outcome should be good. After the match, the coach did not give any evaluation of the three players' performance in the game. He simply told the three players who participated in the trial match to train with the team as usual in the afternoon. The trial training has now officially begun. A trial period involves training with the team for a period of time, allowing coaches to observe the player's overall qualities. For the player, it's also a good opportunity to assess various aspects of the club. In the end, an agreement can only be reached when both parties agree to it. Clubs choose players, and players choose clubs too. After the match, Berardi specifically sought out Gao Zheng. "You're amazing. May I ask your name?" "Gao Zheng, what about you?" "My name is Berardi. Domenico Berardi." Berardi extended his hand to shake Gao Zheng's, then said excitedly, "You performed really well. I think you'll definitely be able to stay on our team after the trials." "Thank you for your kind words." Gao Zheng remained relatively calm, unlike Berardi, who was more excited. Berardi looked around, then lowered his voice and said to Gao Zheng, "That shot you made past Konate was beautiful. I've been wanting to see him fail. But you're really bold, didn't Konate warn you?" Gao Zheng laughed. "He says I can't play, so I can't. He's my opponent, why should I listen to him?" Berardi thought about it carefully and realized that it seemed to be true, so he scratched his head. Gao Zheng looked at his youthful face and asked, "Berardi, how old are you?" "Me? I'll be 17 soon." 17 years old and already in the reserve team. Gao Zheng thought of himself, unsure if being transferred to the reserve team so early was a good thing for the kid in front of him. "I only train and play with the reserve team. I haven't represented the reserve team in any official matches yet." "Okay, good luck. But be careful not to get hurt." Gao Zheng patted Berardi on the shoulder and said goodbye. Guo Wei was waiting for him on the side. "It seems you've made some friends," Guo Wei said to Gao Zheng with a smile, thinking it was a good sign. Gao Zheng glanced back at Berardi, smiled, and said nothing. "But I have a question, Xiao Gao. Why did you provoke that big black guy? Look how wary he is of you now." "I did it on purpose, Uncle Guo." "Huh? On purpose? Why?" Guo Wei couldn't understand. "I just want to provoke him and see if I can handle him," Gao Zheng explained with a smile. Guo Wei was stunned. "Are you playing with fire? Aren't you afraid he'll get so angry that he'll hurt you?" Gao Zheng spread his hands. "This is just a reserve team match, Uncle Guo. I will definitely play real professional matches in the future. Do you want me to tell those opponents that I was injured and ask them to go easy on me? I just want to see if I am qualified to play professional football." Faced with Gao Zheng's explanation, Guo Wei didn't know how to evaluate it. Was it too arrogant? Too far-fetched? Or something else? Chapter 16 The Authoritative Conclusion. And so, Gao Zheng began his trial in Sassuolo. Every morning, Guo Wei would drive him to the training ground, and then he would go to handle his business in Sassuolo. He didn't need to worry about lunch. Gao Zheng ate at the restaurant at the Sassuolo training ground. After lunch break, training continued in the afternoon. After training in the afternoon, Guo Wei waited for him outside the training field, picked him up, and took him back to his hotel in Medina for dinner and rest. And so the day came to an end. Gao Zheng was completely focused and immersed in the trial. He hadn't experienced this kind of professional team training for over a year. Although the old man had arranged more than half a month of special training for him before he left, the old man was, after all, a coach for children, and the intensity and methods of the training were completely different from those of a professional team. The long-lost feeling brought Gao Zheng back to life, and he was once again certain that this place was indeed more suitable for him. He started football training at the age of 6, and for 13 years now, he's been involved with football, constantly training and playing. Besides playing football, he knows nothing else. Besides football, he's utterly useless. What else can I do if I don't continue playing football? He wouldn't be willing to go back to the life of loafing around with the old man. Actually, he never thought of giving up on pursuing a professional football career. If it weren't for the death sentence given to him by the Milan lab, even if he didn't play for AC Milan, he would probably have found another team. He would never have returned to China. But that verdict left a persistent voice of doubt in his mind, constantly asking him, can I really continue down this path? Am I really okay? He didn't know, even though he had been training in Sassuolo for several days, he still couldn't give an answer. The verdict from the Milan laboratory was like a bomb that could explode at any moment. Under the influence of this bomb, his life and mindset changed and became a complete mess. Gao Zheng's performance in training was outstanding. Although the trial period was not yet over, it convinced Manley to keep Gao Zheng at the club. Although his physical condition was not yet perfect, and his stamina and strength were still lacking, Manley believed that given time, Gao Zheng's talent would definitely improve. He reported this decision to the club's sporting director, Nerlio Bonato. When he knocked on Bonato's office door, he was somewhat surprised to find club owner Giorgio Squinzi sitting in Bonato's office. Hello, Mr. Chairman. Manley quickly greeted Squinzi first. Paro, it's so nice to see you. Squinzi stood up and extended his hand to Manley. Manley was flattered and offered his hand. After they shook hands, Bonato asked Manley, is there something you need, Paro? Here's the thing, we recently had 3 players on trial with our team, and one of them performed exceptionally well. I'd like to sign him, so I came to you. Manley handed over the report related to Gao Zheng. Bonato looked down at the report, while Squinzi turned to Manley to inquire about the youth training situation. How are the boys in the youth academy doing? It's normal for the owner to care about youth training, because Sassuolo is a small team that relies mainly on its youth academy. They mainly buy young players. In recent years, the club's highest annual investment has been no more than €350,000, with more funds invested in young players, hoping they will develop into pillars of the team. Unlike Udinese, who also emphasize youth development, Sassuolo prioritizes Italian talent, recruiting primarily Italian players. This is partly due to Sassuolo's limited budget for a global scouting team, but their club culture's focus on domestic players is undeniable. Everything is fine, sir. What about Berardi? He was promoted to the reserve team, but mainly he will be involved in training. He will still be playing in the U17 team. Squinzi was not satisfied with Manley's answer. Why not let him play directly in the reserve team? Shouldn't he already be capable enough? Actually, well, it's the result of multiple factors. Manley carefully chose his words. He knew that Squinzi liked Berardi a lot, perhaps because the young man had a legendary story, which the media liked, the fans liked, and the boss liked. Berardi had never received professional football training before the age of 15. He played a 5-a-side match at his brother's university in Medina, which led to his recommendation for a trial in Sesotho. The trial was a resounding success, and he stayed in Sesotho, becoming a member of the youth team. His growth rate is astonishing, and he is now Sesotho's most famous rising star. Manley still believed that Berardi did not meet the requirements for reserve team matches. After all, his basic skills were still somewhat poor. Of course, it was not his fault, since he did not start receiving real football training until he was 15 years old. And basic skills cannot be made up for in 1 or 2 years of training, he needed time. Sassuolo's owner, Squinzi, was clearly less patient. He shook his head. I think we can give this kid a chance in the reserves. I don't expect him to play in every game, but we can't have him trained all season and then not get a single appearance, can we? I think if he performs well in training, then playing in the reserves can be a reward for him. As the club owner, Mandelli had no choice but to listen to what he said. In this small club, Squinzi was a man of immense influence. Since investing in and purchasing the club in 2004, he had brought new life and hope to this previously unknown club, promoting them from Serie C2 to Serie C1, and now to Serie B. The owner was beloved and welcomed by all Sassuolo fans, his prestige was unmatched, and no one dared to oppose his opinions. Just then, Bonato, who had been looking down at the report, suddenly exclaimed, successfully getting Manley out of the predicament. "Which one is tall?" he asked, looking up. Manley nodded quickly. "It's that Gao." Squinzi was completely confused. "What's high?" "Gao Zheng once trained at AC Milan's youth academy and won the U16 Best Player award," Bonato explained. It was him. To Manley and Bonato's surprise, their boss immediately knew who it was. "Is the person you're planning to sign Gao Zheng?" Manley nodded and quickly introduced the players to the boss, knowing that the boss had a particular fondness for young players. "Gao has been training with us for almost a week, and he's performed very well. He truly is the talented player he was at AC Milan back in the day. But I don't know why he didn't renew his contract with AC Milan. I think we can sign him, we could consider it a lucky break, aha." Manley's laughter quickly stopped as he saw the serious expression on his boss's face. "Do you know why AC Milan didn't renew his contract, Paro?" Manley glanced furtively at Bonato, who gave him a look and gesture that said, "I don't know what's going on either." I don't know. Because of the comprehensive physical data from the Milan laboratory, they believe that his physique is no longer suitable for him to be a professional player," Squinzi said very seriously. This news greatly surprised both Manley and Bonato, who stared in disbelief at club president Squinzi. Chapter 17 Milan Die-Hard Fans. How come we didn't know?" Manley exchanged another glance with Bonato, then asked cautiously. "Not only do you not know, but probably no more than 5 people know about this." Squinzi gestured with his hand. This was an internal matter for AC Milan. No media reported it at the time, and the Milan lab didn't disclose it either, so of course nobody knew. Manley and Bonato looked at their boss, wondering how he knew. Squinzi, of course, knew their questions and laughed. "I naturally have inside information channels." Neither of them suspected anything. It was normal for Squinzi, as the owner of Sassuolo, to have a closer relationship with AC Milan's management, especially since the owner was a well-known die-hard AC Milan fan. As the owner of Sassuolo, he uses an AC Milan phone case instead of his own club's, which shows the importance AC Milan holds in his heart. "Actually, I only heard about Gao last month. It was Milan's youth academy director, Gali, who told me. This guy suffered a very serious injury when he was in AC Milan's youth team, and he was out for more than a year. After his comeback, he suffered 2 more injuries, although they weren't very serious, but they showed signs of making him injury-prone. Based on this, the Milan laboratory conducted a comprehensive analysis of his physical condition and finally came to the authoritative conclusion that he was not suitable to continue playing in the intense world of professional football. So they not only didn't sign Gao to a professional contract, but they also terminated his contract 6 months in advance. Now you understand why he came to us, right? If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't play professional football, would we even be here? Do you think the scouts from those Serie A clubs are pushovers?" After the boss, Squinzi, finished speaking, Manley and Bonato fell silent. This indeed explains Mandelli's question: why did AC Milan let such a talented player go, and why did he disappear for a year instead of going to another team after leaving AC Milan? So, is he coming to Sassuolo for a trial because he's unwilling to give up after a year and wants to fight for his future one more time? But Manley recalled Gao Zheng's performance in the first game and trial, and he found it hard to accept the reality that such a talented player was actually a useless person. Considering that this was a judgment made by the Milan laboratory, which is an authority in this field, he was still a little unsure. He thought he should try to negotiate with the boss and take a gamble. But before he could even speak, Squinzy made his final decision: signing Gao is out of the question. I won't agree to it. We're not going to waste our time, money, and energy on someone who's bound to fail. We're a small club, every penny counts. Instead of thinking about that Chinese prodigy, we should be focusing on how to get Berardi good enough to play for the reserves. He still had his eye on Berardi, the real young prodigy. Giorgio Squinzy is the club's owner and chairman. It can be said that everyone in the club is paid by him. What he says here is like a royal decree, which is the will of Sassuolo club. Manley hesitated for a moment, but still didn't dare to reveal his true intentions. After hearing the inside story of Gao Zheng's departure from AC Milan, he also had doubts about Gao Zheng's future prospects and was not so sure about it. After hearing what the owner said, the club's sporting director, Bonato, returned the report to Manley and then told him, well, we can't sign him. Manley left Bonato's office and headed toward the training field. On the way, he met the first team's assistant coach, Colino. As the one who recommended Berardi to Sassuolo, he was also very concerned about the team's youth training, because he knew very well that Sassuolo's youth training was the lifeblood of Sassuolo's first team. Hey, Paro, how's it going? Did Nerio agree? Let me tell you, if he can't see Gao's potential, then he's blind. What's wrong? The talkative Colino finally realized that something was wrong with the person in front of him. Manley's face was not smiling, but rather frowning. The boss rejected my suggestion, Manley said. Who vetoed it? You went to see the sports director, what does it have to do with our boss? Mr. Squinzy was in Bonato's office at the time. Why did the boss veto this? Colino couldn't understand it at all. Manley sighed and repeated what Squinzy had just said in Bonato's office. After hearing Manley's account, Colino also frowned, but for a different reason. Why does Mr. Chairman have such faith in the conclusions of the Milan laboratory? Our chairman is a die-hard Rossoneri fan, have you forgotten? Colino paused for a moment, he had indeed forgotten about it. Is this really how it's going to end? He was still a little unwilling. What else can we do? If we want to sign a contract with Gao, won't the boss have to pay for it in the end? If the boss doesn't agree, then we definitely can't sign the contract. Manley spread his hands. Can't we just convince the boss? The Milan lab has made mistakes before these past few years. Manley looked at Colino, you can try to persuade him, he should still be in Bonato's office right now. After considering it for a moment, Colino took the report about Gao Zheng from Manley and turned to walk towards the building. However, Manley soon saw the dejected Colino. There is absolutely no room for negotiation. He seems to have a very low opinion of Gao. It's unbelievable. Manley was not at all surprised by the result, because Mr. Scoutzy had never been an easy person to talk to. The two exchanged a glance, realizing that Gao Zheng and they were completely out of luck, and could only sigh in unison. In the hotel room, Guo Wei was encouraging Gao Zheng, tomorrow is the last day of the trial. I remember there's still one game left, right? Good luck. Gao Zheng nodded. But don't provoke your opponents this time. Just finish this game smoothly and don't cause any trouble. Based on your performance in the trial, signing a contract is definitely a done deal, Guo Wei added. Gao Zheng nodded again, I understand, Uncle Guo. Sigh, if it weren't for the time difference, I really wanted to call Coach Yang right now and share this good news with him. Guo Wei sighed. It's nighttime in Italy now, and there's a 7-hour time difference between China and here. What's nighttime in Italy is basically midnight there, so calling isn't practical. Gao Zheng laughed, it's still far from certain. Let's call him after we've actually signed the contract. Yeah, let's give him a surprise. Guo Wei couldn't help but laugh at the thought of Lao Yang being startled. Then get some rest, Xiao Gao. Play your best in this game tomorrow. Don't worry, Uncle Guo. Gao Zheng confidently gave a thumbs up. After a week of training, he felt much better physically than when he first arrived in Sassuolo, and he also rediscovered the feeling he had when he played in AC Milan's youth academy. He was confident that he would perform even better than in the last match and bring this trial to a perfect close. With this confidence, he quickly drifted off to sleep. Chapter 18, Is Authority Wrong? Gao Zheng could sense that he was in really good form today. He was unleashing his talent on the court, making everyone else, whether opponents or teammates, just supporting characters. And this time, there was no further provocation between Konate and him. After a week of training, the reserve team players all recognized Gao Zheng's abilities and believed that he would definitely become their teammate after the trial. Since that was the case, there was no need to make things too tense. Therefore, from the perspective of evaluating players, this last game is not very important. It was more like a performance. Gao Zheng showcased his abilities to the fullest in this show. He scored goals, provided assists, and showcased his imaginative skills. Berardi, Gao Zheng's opponent in the match, was ecstatic. If it weren't for the presence of many people, he would have cheered for Gao Zheng. Guo Wei stood by and cheered for Gao Zheng's every brilliant performance, while also secretly observing Sassuolo's coach. The two coaches who conducted the initial trial were still standing on the sidelines today, but what Guo Wei found somewhat strange was that whenever Gao Zheng performed well during the game, the two coaches would frown. What does this mean? Guo Wei was a little confused. Had this longtime football fan, who hadn't watched football for years, fallen behind the times and failed to understand the new demands modern football places on players? The coach's expressions made Guo Wei, who was initially confident that Gao Zheng would sign with Sassuolo, somewhat worried. Guo Wei had no idea what the coaches were thinking. His frown wasn't because Gao Zheng had performed poorly, but because Gao Zheng had performed too well. They can't sign Gao Zheng, a young player with immense talent and potential, because of the authoritative assessment from the Milan lab. And they know why Gao Zheng is performing so well. He must be dreaming of joining Sassuolo, right? Unfortunately, in the eyes of the coaches who knew the inside story, Gao Zheng was just wasting his time. Therefore, the better Gao Zheng performs, the more uncomfortable they feel. Just as the match was about to end, an extra person appeared next to the two coaches. "I'm here to be the villain," said sports director Nerlio Bonato, standing expressionlessly between the two. Mandley sighed upon hearing this, but Colino chuckled on the other side. The other two looked at him. "I now hope that Milan Labs is right," Carlino sneered. "So that when Gao Chu comes out, we Sassuolo players won't become the real villains and be laughed at." Mandley opened his mouth, but said nothing. Bonato, however, remained expressionless and with a blank face. The match ended quickly, and Gao Zheng became the focus of everyone's attention. Even his two teammates who came for the trial with him turned their attention to him. Everyone could see that Gao Zheng was the best player of the match, and he would definitely stay with the team. Presumably, the next step would be for the club to announce his signing. Sure enough, Gao Zheng was beckoned to the sidelines by Mandley, the head coach of the reserve team. Gao Zheng staggered over. Besides the coach, he also saw a stranger with a serious expression. "This is Mr. Bonato, the club's sporting director," Mandley introduced. "Hello, sir." Gao Zheng greeted the other party with a smile. Facing Gao Zheng, who maintained a smile, Bonato nodded slightly without a smile. Guo Wei brought his phone closer, wanting to record this memorable moment on video so he could show it to Lao Yang and make him happy too. Just after he pressed the record button, he heard the sports director say in a completely emotionless voice, "Gao, I regret to inform you that we cannot sign you." Guo Wei looked up from his phone screen and at Bonato, thinking he had misheard. Not only him, but all the other players present were also stunned. Gao Zheng's smile froze on his face for about a second. He frowned slightly, then continued with a polite smile and asked, "Excuse me, sir. Sassuolo can't sign you, that's a pity, but you can go to other clubs." As Bonato repeated these words, Mandley stood beside him with his head down. He felt extremely embarrassed, not for himself, but for Gao Zheng. He didn't want to stay there for even a second longer. Why? Gao Zheng still had a smile on his face, but it was completely different from his previous smile. To Colino, Gao Zheng's smile seemed somewhat fierce. He had a feeling that if Bonato's answer didn't suit this kid, he might teach Bonato a lesson in the next second. Seeing the smile on the young man's face, even the seasoned veteran Bonato felt a little overwhelmed for the first time. He tried his best to maintain his cool demeanor. "You should know better than us why you left AC Milan, right?" Upon hearing this, Gao Zheng raised one hand, and Bonato instinctively tried to dodge. He thought Gao Zheng was going to hit him. But Gao Zheng simply clasped his hands on the top of his head and then scratched his head. So that's why. Yes, that's the only reason. When Gao Zheng said this, the people in front of him heard laughter. He said it with a smile. Sure enough, when Gao Zheng looked up again, he still had a smile on his face. He asked with a smile, "You really believe the conclusions of the Milan laboratory?" "They are authorities." Bonato slightly tucked his chin in, an instinctive reaction to sense danger. What if they're wrong? What if the authorities are wrong? Gao Zheng asked Bonato, still smiling. Faced with the young man's direct gaze, Bonato was at a loss for words. Colino, standing to the side, made no attempt to help Bonato out of the predicament. Instead, he gave a silent, smirking smile. Manley stepped in to help Bonato out of the predicament, advising, "Gao, we all really admire your talent, you don't need to do this." Before he could finish speaking, he saw Gao Zheng take off his green and black Sassuolo jersey. When did Sassuolo become AC Milan's satellite club? After saying that, Gao Zheng threw the Sassuolo jersey in his hand on the ground, turned around and dragged Guo away. "Let's go, Uncle Guo." Gao Zheng's final action caused a stir on the field. Berardi tried to call out to Gao Zheng, but Gao Zheng did not respond to his calls and walked out of the training field without looking back. Once he was out of sight, Bonato, who had been wearing a stern face the whole time, finally let out a long sigh. Damn it, being a villain is fucking tough. Manley bent down and picked up the jersey that Gao Zheng had thrown on the ground. He muttered, "What if we were wrong?" "Don't think about it, Paro, let's just let it go." "Hey, where did Luciano go?" Bonato then noticed that the Colino beside him was gone. "What's going on here?" Guo complained as Gao Zheng dragged him out. While checking the video recording on his phone, he had been so frightened that he forgot to stop recording, and ended up recording the whole thing on his phone. In the video, Gao Zheng is questioning Bonato, "What if they're wrong? What if the authorities are wrong?" He plans to delete the video. But Gao Zheng stopped him, "Don't delete it, Uncle Guo." Guo's hand was almost touching the delete key, but he stopped and asked, "Why? This isn't something worth commemorating. Sassuolo rejected a future superstar, what a memorable moment. Send it to me." Gao Zheng waved his phone. "You were rejected, you failed the trial, and you still have the mind to joke around." Guo shook his head and said, "I'm not joking, Uncle Guo. I'm serious. Sassuolo will definitely regret their decision today." Guo understood the implication in Gao Zheng's words. "Are you going to continue?" "I said I wouldn't go back if I didn't make it. I want to play football, and that's all I know how to do," Gao Zheng said earnestly to Guo. "So, Uncle Guo, I'd like to borrow some money from you. Not much, just enough for me to stay here until my visa expires." His visa allows him to stay in Italy for 1 month, and he has already used up 1 week of it. This means that Gao Zheng still has 3 weeks to work hard for his future. "Once I become a professional player, I'll pay you back quickly, Uncle Guo." Looking at Gao Zheng's serious expression, Guo seemed to see the day he left, in the car, telling him that he wanted to make something of himself and let the whole world know that Coach Yang was his coach. Gao Zheng was just as serious back then. Thinking of this, Guo said, "I won't lend you money, Xiao Gao." Under Gao Zheng's surprised gaze, he continued, "I'll go with you." "Uncle Guo, your business. I'm a boss now, and I still have to keep an eye on the business all day. What's the point of being a boss?" Guo scoffed. Gao Zheng smiled and said, "Thank you, Uncle Guo. Don't be so polite." After spending a week together, the two had developed some feelings for each other. "Let's go then." Guo opened the car door. "Where do we go next?" Gao Zheng was stuck, because he didn't know where to go next. "I remember there was a club right where we were staying, Medina," he said after a moment's thought. "Then let's go there." Guo was about to set off immediately, time was of the essence. But just then, a voice rang out, "If you don't mind, I'd like to suggest you try Genoa." The two men turned around and saw Luciano Colino, the assistant coach of Sassuolo's first team, who was looking at them with a smile. "I thought you guys had changed your minds." Guo snorted, because he had a very bad impression of Sassuolo club now because he rejected Gao Zheng. Colino looked at Gao Zheng, even if we change our minds, I doubt Gao will ever turn back, right? Gao Zheng smiled and said, of course. I knew it. Colino pulled a business card from his pocket and wrote down a string of numbers. I have a friend in Sampdoria, Luciano Bruni, who is now the head coach of Sampdoria's reserve team. This is my business card, and this is his phone number. Just say I recommended you, and he will definitely give you a trial. But whether you can impress him is up to you. Gao Zheng took the business card and examined it. How do I know Sampdoria won't reject me for the same reason? I don't know either, you can only try. Okay, anyway, thank you. Gao Zheng put away the business card. You're welcome, Colino smiled. You're right, even high-ranking officials make mistakes, nothing is predetermined. Good luck. After saying that, he left. This coach is quite interesting. Guo Wei remarked. Gao Zheng opened the car door and got in. Let's go, to Genoa. Chapter 19 Sampdoria Reserves. At the Groiano Magnani training base located halfway up the mountain in Boriasco, Gao Zheng and Guo Wei finally met Luciano Bruni, a friend of Luciano Colino. Bruni was also sizing up Gao Zheng. He was very tall, but he didn't look particularly strong, just like Colino said on the phone. I heard from Colino that he wants me to give you a trial. That's not a problem, but whether you stay here or not is up to you. Gao Zheng nodded to indicate that he understood. Okay, then come directly to training tomorrow. No competition. Gao Zheng was a little surprised. What competition? Do you think I'd disrupt my training schedule just for you? Impossible. Just follow the training schedule, and the competitions will come naturally. Bruni waved his hand. After saying goodbye to Bruni, as the two got out of the car, Guo Wei was still talking to Gao Zheng about the coach. It seems like he doesn't value you very much. Gao Zheng looked out the car window at the shimmering Gulf of Genoa. I can hardly be said to be valued by anyone now, can I? But I thought that if I showed up with that coach's business card, I'd get some extra treatment. You're overthinking it, Uncle Guo. I just hope that after spending a week training, I won't be eliminated for that reason again. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time and not worth it at all. Guo Wei sighed upon hearing this and fell silent. Sampdoria's Magnani training base is located in the mountains of Boriasco, a small town east of Genoa. Gao Zheng and Guo Wei didn't return to Genoa to rest, but instead found a hotel in Boriasco for convenient daily training. After finding a hotel, the two of them randomly picked a restaurant nearby for dinner. During dinner, Guo Wei remembered something. Logically speaking, today is the day of the final result. Coach Yang must be waiting for this result. It's already late today, but I will definitely call him tomorrow to see what to say. While eating, Gao Zheng said, just tell the truth. If he doesn't believe you, just send him the video recording. He spoke casually, but Guo Wei couldn't sit still. Such a big thing, don't you want to have a proper talk with your coach Yang? What's there to say? The old man knows my situation, Gao Zheng said nonchalantly. Okay. Guo Wei thought back to how the mentor and student had acted when they said goodbye, and felt that it was normal now. I'm already out of touch with the times in football, and I couldn't help you much during the trial. Good luck to you. You're too kind, Uncle Guo. You've already helped me a lot. If it weren't for you, I would probably be heading back to China today. I would have slunk home with my tail between my legs. Gao Zheng looked up, wiped his mouth, and said to Guo Wei. The next day, when Guo Wei took Gao Zheng to the Sampdoria training base, he watched Gao Zheng walk into the building alone. He was a little reluctant to leave and stood outside for a while. When he didn't see Gao Zheng being kicked out of the building, he drove back to the hotel at the foot of the mountain. Back at the hotel, he took out his laptop and began dealing with business matters. But he would always get distracted and look out the window at the small hill not far away, where he could vaguely see the Magnani training center from the hillside. I wonder how Gao Zheng's training is going, whether he's getting along well with his new teammates, and how the coach treats him. In the reserve team locker room at the Magnani training center, reserve team head coach Bruni is introducing his players to their new teammates. He is your temporary teammate, and he will be training with you for the next week. Everyone knows exactly what these temporary teammates are there to do. Trials are not unfamiliar to most people. But today, someone in the team exclaimed in surprise, "Hi. This shout drew everyone's attention, including Gao Zheng's, who stared blankly at the person who had called out to him. Reserve team coach Bruni was also puzzled. Alberto, do you know him? Alberto Massi, whose name was called, stepped forward and nodded, saying, yes, I've fought him before. Gao Zheng was even more puzzled. Dude, do I know you? Massi continued to explain, when I was in the Sampdoria youth team, I played against the AC Milan youth team that Gao played for, the U16 class. Speaking of U16, that was Gao Zheng's best season. They were invincible across the country and must have played against Sampdoria U16. They might even have faced the team in front of us. Looking at Gao Zheng's puzzled expression, Mashi laughed and said, you caused our defense endless trouble in that match, and you scored 4 goals. And I was the captain who was marking you. Although Gao Zheng still couldn't recall who the Sampdoria captain who had guarded him back then was, he still managed a look of sudden realization. Oh, it's you. You remembered? No. Gao Zheng scratched his head. Massi didn't seem to mind, laughing, it's normal not to remember, but I have a very strong impression of you. Because you single-handedly destroyed our entire team back then. You scored 4 goals in the first 25 minutes, completely stunning us. As Massi recounted the story, the expressions of the other Sampdoria reserve team players towards Gao Zheng changed. I didn't expect you to come here now. What happened in between? Gao Zheng hesitated for a moment, but still chose to tell the truth. I terminated my contract with AC Milan. Terminate the contract? Why? Massi's eyes widened in surprise. It's a long story. It wasn't that Gao Zheng was unwilling to talk about it, but it really was a long story. Reserve team head coach Bruni coughed and said, all right, we can talk about that later. Since you know Gao, things will be easier. Introduce him to his teammates and get him ready for training. As soon as the head coach left, Alberto Massi introduced Gao Zheng to all his teammates in a very grand manner. Let me introduce you all, Gao Zheng. He used to be in AC Milan's youth team, and he was once the best player in the U16 team. He's really amazing. Huh. Gao Zheng never expected that Mashi would introduce him to other people like this. Alright, now you can tell me how you got here, right? Massi asked curiously after finishing his sentence, as he genuinely didn't understand the question. Gao Zheng had left a very deep impression on him since childhood. He still remembered the scene of Gao Zheng being surrounded by his teammates like a star after scoring his 4th goal with a beautiful volley. Massi will never forget this scene. Although AC Milan's youth team is not as famous as Inter Milan's youth team, it still has many outstanding and talented players. However, in this team full of talents, Gao Zheng is the most dazzling one, like the largest and most dazzling gem in the center of a crown. At the time, he was the captain and starting center-back of Sampdoria's youth team, a prodigy who was highly regarded and praised from a young age. He was the darling of everyone in Sampdoria's various youth teams. But even a genius like him was powerless against Gao Zheng, who defeated him 4 times in 25 minutes, almost breaking his mentality. Actually, it's nothing much. I later suffered a serious injury, and AC Milan felt that I had no future, so they terminated my contract. Gao Zheng summarized his grievances with AC Milan in a simple sentence. Hearing that it was due to an injury, everyone's curiosity and confusion vanished. Injuries are commonplace for any athlete, and many young talents have basically fallen victim to injuries. Ma Shi, who asked the question, hadn't expected Gao Zheng to have such a backstory. He felt somewhat guilty, realizing he had publicly reopened Gao Zheng's wounds. Gao Zheng spread his hands. Actually, it's nothing. I went back to China to rest for a year, but I was still a little unwilling, so I came back to try out for various places. I still want to come back to play football. It's good to be back, it's good to be back. Massi didn't know what else to say besides repeating this phrase. The formidable figure he had encountered in his youth was now standing right beside him, but both his identity and the reason behind it were heartbreaking. Gao Zheng noticed Ma Shi's unusual behavior and patted him on the shoulder. You haven't introduced me to your teammates yet. Oh, right, let me introduce you. This is Nenad Kostic. Chapter 20 Pyramids and Deserts. When Alberto Massi praised Gao Zheng, not all the reserve team players in the locker room agreed with him. They were just too polite to openly express their disapproval. After all, Gao Zheng hadn't offended them, he was just there for a trial, and who knew if he'd even stay on the team after a week. It wasn't worth offending him. Especially after hearing that Gao Zheng had only won honors in the U16 era, many people took him even less seriously. Most of them are 18 or 19 years old. Who among them didn't fight their way up from the U15 or U16 level? Who wasn't a standout among their peers in their youth? But getting this far has been incredibly difficult. It's not that just because you performed well in your youth, you deserve to be here now. Along the way, they've witnessed countless peers fall behind, some even more talented than them. So what? Professional football is a typical pyramid structure. The top players are at the top, the top league players are in the middle, and the players in the lower leagues, lower level leagues, and even other second and third tier leagues are all at the bottom. But at least they are still on the ground and can still be seen. As for these quasi-professional players who have signed professional contracts but are still unable to play for the first team, they are merely the foundation of a pyramid, buried underground, with no idea when they will see the light of day. From the youth team to the junior team, countless losers who devoted themselves to football but were eliminated are like grains of sand in the vast desert surrounding the pyramids. Vast as the sea of stars, too numerous to count. From the perspective of football itself, these people's sacrifices are meaningful. It is their existence that has given birth to the behemoth that is professional football. Without the support of youth football development systems at all levels around the world, and without hundreds of millions of children who love football dedicating themselves to this system, the world's #1 sport would be a joke. But from an individual perspective, every failure who falls in the desert and turns into sand is tragic. Some of them brought it upon themselves, some were envied by heaven for their talent, and some spent many years only to find that they were not cut out for this job. All the youth and health they sacrificed in this industry went down the drain. Is it worth it? If someone asked them this, they might smile and answer, "I love football, and I have no regrets." But is that the truth? But even if it's not the truth, even if you regret it or feel resentful, what can you do? This is reality, and reality is cruel. At the very top of the pyramid, there are only a handful of people. The desert, composed of countless grains of sand, is the norm. The Sampdoria reserve team players are used to the survival of the fittest. Even if they had any compassion, it has been worn down by now. Instead of sympathizing with others, they should think about how to make a name for themselves in this fiercely competitive world. Gao Zheng was unaware of his teammates' thoughts and completely disregarded their indifferent attitude. He had just experienced a major turning point in his life, and the days after leaving AC Milan were still vivid in his mind. When he was still with AC Milan, constantly bringing glory to the country, both the media and fans practically lauded him to the skies. But after he was released by AC Milan and it was revealed that he was playing amateur football on amateur fields, he was well aware of the scathing criticism he received online. After experiencing such ups and downs, he understood a principle: that's how the world is, the winner takes all, and if you don't want to be scorned by everyone, then don't lose. If you can get along with someone in the locker room, great, if not, and it's too difficult, then don't try. Let your abilities speak for themselves. Just like when he played amateur soccer in China, he readily agreed to take photos with his sugar daddies, striking whatever poses they wanted. But when it came to accompanying clients for drinks or attending business events, he refused. He was a performer, not a prostitute. The morning training session was just a routine one. Gao Zheng did not show the talent that earned him the U16 Best Player award back then, but instead exposed his poor physical condition. This made his temporary teammates even more dismissive of Gao Zheng. Only Ma Shi would occasionally take the time to encourage Gao Zheng, "Keep going, don't rush, take your time." He knew that Gao Zheng had a year-long hiatus, so it was normal that his body wasn't fully adapted yet. Although he was traumatized by Gao Zheng back then, he now hopes more than anyone that Gao Zheng can recover. Perhaps it stems from a subtle psychological reason: how could someone who can terrify me be so weak? If I were defeated by someone like that, what am I? Gao Zheng responded to Ma Shi's concern with a smile and gratitude, but he wasn't actually in a hurry. He knew very well where his problems lay. There was no use rushing things like physical fitness, it could only be improved through gradual training and accumulation. In the afternoon training session, Bruni arranged a 5-on-5 match at the end. The team was divided into 4 teams of 5 players each and played in a field about the size of the penalty area. The goal was replaced with a special small goal and guarded by a goalkeeper. To increase the fun and competitiveness, the rules stipulate that the team that loses the ball must not only have their entire team do push-ups, but also be substituted out so that other teams can take their place. Young people love competitive games like this. Everyone wants to win again and no one wants their team to be knocked out after a short time. Although there are no material rewards, everyone agrees that staying on the field for a long time is a huge reward, like a glittering trophy that attracts everyone to chase after it. So everyone was eager to try. Although Gao Zheng was a temporary teammate, he was also assigned to the same team, but he was not with Ma Shi. Massey even went so far as to talk to him and give him a heads up, "Gao, it's a pity we're not on the same team. I know you have a hiatus, and I know you need to impress the coach with outstanding performances to stay. I personally hope you can stay, but I won't hold back in the game because of that." Gao Zheng smiled at his new teammate's serious expression. "It's just a five-a-side game. But there are winners and losers, and that's what makes a competition. That's why I'm telling you this, and I hope you don't mind." Gao Zheng waved his hand to interrupt him. I don't mind. I also hope that you will do your best to defend me when you meet me later. Let me see how much my senses have recovered." Gao Zheng didn't say this aloud. He just smiled at Ma Shi, telling him not to worry.